Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to Evolution Sim Racing tonight ahead of round 7 of the GT4 Sprint Championship tonight at the very technical Portimao circuit. Ahead of the drivers tonight, 15 corners around this 4.6 kilometre circuit, with 9 to the right and 6 to the left. A track which is known for its significant elevation changes, making for some risky overtakes, but still some great wheel-to-wheel action. My name is Joseph Glass, and as always, I'm delighted to be joined in the commentary box this evening by Mr. Dara Thacker as we look ahead to our standard format of two 30-minute sprint races with no mandatory pit stops. So Dara, tonight, I feel like we should probably be paying particular attention to our two elite championship protagonists who enter the final 4 weeks of this championship level on 591 points, which is incredible to think, really, after all the intense racing that we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, and considering that when we have the drop round counted in, those 591 points are, a total of 5 rounds worth of races. It really just does show how good Justin Raymer and William Humphrey have been in their Grid and Go and Dennett racing cars, respectively. Like you said, realistically, whoever comes out with the most points tonight is going to steal a little bit of a march in the championship, and with only 3 rounds to go after this, it could be really important. But at the same time, for Justin Raymer, he's got no points to fall back on. Of course, he missed the round at Manicourt, so every point he picks up from here on out will count. But for William Humphrey, even if he has a bad race here tonight at Portimao, 83 points is his worst week, and that could be what he picks up anyway.
Yeah, completely. And looking down at the other two divisions, they are not quite said and done, but definitely in a better position in the elite standings. We've got Mike Murphy and Francois Brandet. Now, Francois is actually starting from the back of the grid tonight, so let's see how the likes of Ludbrook and Fellows can do. See if they can claw back some of that margin before we conclude later.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for Francois Brandet, even if he has a bad race tonight, again, it comes back to what is he going to fall back on. His first round of the season at Suzuka was his worst round so far, and that still got him 95 points under this format, 2 30-minute races. So, even if Francois has a bit of a poor evening tonight, 95 points will be coming straight to his tally. He'll just have to fall back on whatever he gets tonight. So it's a nice position to be in, but we're looking to try and build on that advantage because, it's nice to be able to win a championship before the final round of the season, isn't it?
Absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. So we've got about 36, 37 drivers in the practice session at the moment. A few minutes to go before we get underway with our usual qualifying session. But before that, the usual formalities that we need to run through. So first up, a quick look at the sponsors of this series. And first up, it's Kame, the home and building automation experts who provide the trophies for us in this wonderful series across both the GT3 and the GT4 Championship. So a big thank you for Kame for making all of this possible. Alongside those, it's the GPT Group, Keenan Eco Energy and Medius, who are also our secondary partners alongside Kame for this championship. The trophies that we see on offer here, 2 examples on screen now, they'll be handed out to top 5 drivers in each class, and the top 5 winning teams in the Teams Championship. Each driver in those teams will pick up one of their own trophies as well. So lots and lots to be handed out, and lots for people to get their hands on, and still plenty of those to fight for. It's not over yet. Still with 4 rounds to go. All could change before the end of tonight. So we start, as always, with a look over the championship standings. And to begin with, let's take a look at the elite division. So, as we alluded to, it's Justin Raymer and William Humphrey who lead the way. And as we said, 6 rounds completed, 7th round tonight. And, with a bit of maths to be done around the drop rounds, these guys enter the race here tonight at Portimao level on 591 points. They're going toe-to-toe so far, the Canadian and the British driver, the Porsche, and the Mercedes of Grid and Go Esports and Dennett Racing. It's a bit of a big gap down to Luke Lucchese now. Same can be said, really, in most of those divisions outside the top 2. The South African sits on 466 points, 125 away from the top 2, with just a handful of podiums to his name, but yet to get that race win under his belt so far, something that only 3 or 4 drivers in this class have been able to achieve. Ryan Ottens for Alpha 1 Esports, he's next in P4 and only 23 points off Lucchese, so the battle for 3rd well and truly on between the 2 South African drivers. Ben Chalcraft is in 5th. He's on 410 points, 33 points behind Mr. Ottens. And Ben has that win to his name. He's one of the few drivers in this division who has managed to get that win a few weeks ago around Manicourt in our feature race. So good for Ben to hang on to the top 5 as we approach sort of the business end of the season. Jimmy Weimann next. He's on 395 points, the Frenchman for G League. A pretty strong result last week around Hockenheim, P4 and a P5 with a less than impressive P11, but still upkeeping with some of Jimmy's strongest results of the season. A couple of podiums to his name, but I think P4, P5 is about where he would expect to be. Let's keep our eyes on him tonight and see if he can get himself back in there once again. It's Jay Coley next, closely followed by Sebastian Bonnet, just 2 points separating those two drivers. With Jeremy Orlemans, who's not with us tonight, he is away, so he will miss this round and is likely to drop points to Jeremy Chioka if Mr. Chioka is with us. That will be our top 10. Tristan Znobruger still on this graphic in the top 12, but he has been missing for the last 3 weeks. If he's not with us tonight, that'll be a whole month out, and yet people haven't been able to catch up with him. 2 podiums to his name so far this season. Last up, it's Mr. Chaz Draycott. He's on 226 points, the second of the 3 Spontex CDM esports teams, and we caught him last week up to his usual shenanigans, but only 1 podium to his name tonight. He's with us this evening, so let's keep our eyes on how he gets on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can pick up points in the elite class. It is tight in the midfield, but it doesn't get quite as tight as it does down in the Premier class. Yes, Mike Murphy's out in front. Yes, he's got quite a big championship lead, and he has got a 136 point championship lead to be exact for the DXT Emerald team. But it is his teammate, Stephen Donnelly, who is in P2. Those two drivers have been so good this season, picking up 9 of the 14 wins between them, and that's why Donnelly is in second. Martin Kenyon for the DXT Cyan team, you can see how many podiums he's got. Loads of second places, a couple of thirds in there as well. The win just eluding him so far this season. Can tonight be his night to get that first win on the board? It's Josh Ostick who's in 4th, who's really come to form of late. You can see 5 podiums in his last 5 rounds, and that shot him up the order into 426 points. His drop round was 0 points. He scored 0 points at Manicourt, so it's 426 points in, let's be fair, 4 rounds, which shows how good he can be. Bash Listra is still in 5th despite the difficulties he's had in the last couple of rounds. You can see 4 DNFs and a P16 in his last 5 races. Compare that to Josh Ostick, as Ostick overtook him for 4th last time out. We'll see what Schliestra can do if he can recover the Dutchman in 5th. Rob Pickle is in 6th. The 1 podium to start the season has been his highlight up to now. He's been looking to replicate it, but he leads this very, very tight little train of cars that goes all the way back to P11. It goes Rob Smith in P7 for the Flatline Racing Red, and Hussein Sarakadesla, who is in P8, the Turkish driver for Suma GP2, getting some consistent points, and that's why he is still in 8th. But he's just ahead of Dennis Curler, who is in 9th, who, after a couple of podiums at Manicourt, is really in the running. Pierre Berezg in P10, just running outside that top 10 with more consistent finishes. He's on 319. Jonas Larsson's just over that 300 mark on 309 with James Bostock, the boss man. After missing the first 2 rounds, being in the commentary box alongside me, it's fair to say he's recovered pretty well so far this season.
Yeah, he definitely has. And just a note on Bash Listra up there in 5th, he's actually not with us tonight. He said earlier in the server that he wouldn't be with us, so that does open the door slightly for the likes of Rob Pickle and Rob Smith to get themselves up into the trophy positions. Remember, that is the top 5 that we have on offer in every division. Now then, over to the EVO Championship standings, and as always, we talk about the man who's been in fine form. That form came to a bit of an end last week. P4, P4 and a P6 for the EVO Championship leader as things stand, Mr. Francois Brandet. He had that incredible run of form, pretty much getting himself on the podium in almost every opportunity, aside from those 2 rounds in Road Atlanta, and that form followed in to Hockenheim, sadly for him, last week. Got caught up in a few incidents, recovered well in the end, and still managed to keep that consistency. Hasn't finished outside the top 6 all season thus far. He will, however, as we said earlier, serve a qualifying ban from an accumulation of license points. So let's keep our eyes on him to see how he carves his way through the field, starting right toward the back. John Ludbrooks next for Kame GP2 in the Porsche, 145 points away from Mr. Brandes, so a slightly bigger gap that we saw from P1 to P2 in the Premier standings, but John, still some pretty consistent results, needs to get himself back on the podium, though. He can't go too long. It's been 2 weeks since he found himself getting that double podium around Manicourt, so John really needs to fix up and see if he can capitalise on Francois being down there at the back. Andrew Fellows, he certainly did capitalise last week. He's been alluding to that the last few weeks, actually, saying he needed Francois to just drop off the boil ever so slightly so that he could seize the opportunity, and he absolutely did that this time last week around the Hockenheim ring. 2 P3s and a P1 and a hat-trick of podiums for the Mercedes driver for Flatline Racing Red. He's on 460 points, very, very close behind John Ludbrook. It should be a good battle between those two tonight. Matthew Noel, the Canadian driver, he's close behind as well. 24 points of difference away from the top 3, and he too got himself that hat-trick of podiums in the absence of Mr. Brandet. P5 is Luis Nevea, 2 P8 and a P5 for him last week. The gap's opening up a little bit, nearly on 400 points though for the man in the Flatline Racing Blue team. Still within a shout of taking home one of those driver trophies. Steve Rubino is next, and he is also hot on the heels of that trophy. That's probably the best he can hope for at this point in the season. 2 DNFs this time last week around the Hockenheim ring, and a couple more to his name actually throughout the season. So he needs to avoid that for the rest of the season if he wants to finish strong. Danny Weir, he's next up, and again, that gap just growing and growing ever so slightly as we look down the standings. Danny still within a chance at a top 5, but he needs to get that first podium of the season on the board if he's really going to start making up that gap. Sadly, Steve Ewing not with us anymore, so he can be removed from the standings as things go on, but still finds himself in P8 as it stands. James Howell's next up. He's with us for the first time on driver cams tonight after returning last week around Hockenheim. His drop round so far 0 points, having missed Manicourt and Laguna Seca. And then it's Dale Williams, who hasn't been with us for a long time. Started well with a couple of race wins, a couple of podiums, but in the last 3 weeks he has not been with us, and he's yet to serve that ban that he picked up in around the Hungara ring. So when he does eventually join us again, we will be seeing him starting toward the back of the grid. It's Robin Noel Brown and Gareth Newton in P11 and P12, rounding off the Evo Championship standings. Now, Dara, the session has got underway, but let's give it a quick rundown of the top 5 in the teams, and then we can cut over and join the guys as they set off on their first laps for qualifying.
Yeah, and the gaps are pretty big in the Teams Championship. DXD Emerald, we see them doing incredibly well in the Premier and the Evo class. Mike Murphy, Stephen Donnelly and Francois Brandet, 1,450 points, and they lead by a full 500 ahead of Dennett Racing. Humphrey, Williams and Stoddart doing their best to hold on there. It gets pretty close. Kame GP2 with Bostock, Newton and Ludbrook are in third. DXT Cyan and Flatline Racing are in that hunt for the top 3, but another couple of teams, RDSA, Sports, Spontex, EDM, Flatline Racing Blue, they're in the hunt for that top 5, but really it's being dominated by Emerald at the moment, isn't it? Yeah,
it really is, and you'd think the 3 men in with a chance, well, 2 of them winning a title at the moment, and Donnelly up there in P2, you'd think it'll be quite a hard task for anybody to gain on those. So, it's still mathematically possible, but it's a big task ahead for sure. So we cut to trackside now then. We're riding on with Mr. Maxim Dimitrov, the 173 machine, as he heads around, just centering the second sector now, to start his first qualifying lap. And it's a very, very tricky circuit, this one. Very easy for the rear to step around on you. Very tricky corners, in my opinion. Thinking about, let's think turn 3, turn 4 as you head up over the crest. Very easy to drop the car there. The heavy hairpin down at turn 5, a very particular overtaking opportunity. And then as we head through the tricky turn 10 and 11, which is a blind crest. And then you've got to get on the brakes as you reach that crest, get it tucked in nicely into the right-hander. And then again, turns 13 and 14, easy to lose the rear, especially as the race goes on. And Dara probably, once again, similar to Hockenheim ring last week, many overtaking opportunities for these guys to try and capitalise on.
These GT4 cars, I mean, Portimao, the slower the car, the more likely you are to be getting some side-by-side throughout the lap. So hopefully we'll be getting a little bit of that tonight. But like you say, it is so tricky, particularly on the acceleration. We might see a few drivers drop it. We've seen that so far this season. Back at Road Atlanta towards the start of the season, we saw a couple of drivers find it difficult in parts of the circuit where the camber was adverse. And that might happen again here tonight. I mean, the camera angles don't really do it justice, particularly down towards turn 1, how steep some of these little crests and dips are, because they really can unsettle the car when you're not expecting it. And with cars that don't have the greatest amount of downforce on, it's going to be difficult to really keep it all together, isn't it?
Oh, speaking of which, there he is, struggling to keep it together. Here's Mr. Maxim Dimitrov again. Brakes still warming, tyres still warming, car still coming up to temperature. You don't want to push too hard on this opening lap, but you do need to get a pretty comfortable banker in as he exits now the first sector, heading at the exit of turn 5, heading through turn 6. And that's Dimitrov, who will have time to gain on the exit of 4, one of the notable corners that we mentioned there. Something that he will look to improve as he sets away. We've got Jay Corley. He's coming across the line in the Aston Martin. He's doing okay for himself up there in the elite standings. P7 at the moment. And only... well, actually, no, sorry, I was going to say only, but he's quite away off the top 6, actually. He's been definitely up there for the fight. Got a podium this time last week, so let's keep our eyes on Jay's starting position as he makes his way around Sector 1.
And in that yellow and green car, just about getting it through turn 4. It looked a little bit tricky on the acceleration, not using as much of the track as he maybe could have done, which means that he may be playing it a bit safe on this opening lap, getting a banker time and making sure his name is on the board, and it's relatively competitive for him to be able to build on. Nothing worse, is there, than maybe invalidating your opening couple of runs and it all resting on the final lap that you do, because that could put you under far too much pressure. Through we go, though, through 7 and 8, looking good over the crest of the hill. You dive back down as you get towards 9 and 10. Very tricky part of the racetrack over here. You can see how much you have to rise. You can't see the apex at this point. Only about now can you see where you want the car to be turned into. If there's kind of incident ahead, you're going to be just, feeling around, trying to see where you can go into the middle of that corner.
Yeah, we're seeing the lap times coming in at the moment. It's Sebastian Bonnet, the first elite driver to punch in a time. That's a 150.7. We've got Stephen Donnelly leading the way in the Premier Division, and Matthew Noel very close behind the Premier driver. Let's take a look at that in class order then. Lots and lots of Premier drivers, the first men to put lap times on the board. And we do have a new driver tonight, Mr. Cass. The boss man did tell me that he was in Premier, but he has a 250 number, so a bit of a conflict there, but I was told he was in the Premier class, so fingers crossed it's just a number that is wrong. And so far, the pace would suggest that he is in the right class.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, actually, so I'm glad you picked up on it. But yeah, nice to see another couple of drivers joining us mid-season. It's great to see so many people getting involved, and with all the new series that we're going to be having in ESR in the upcoming future, it's great to see more people getting involved. But it's also good to see how competitive it is, particularly in that Premier class where those top 3 split by a 10th. That is not the line for Justin Ray, as he goes too far wide at turn 4. I don't think this will be much of an improvement on a 149.4, but we'll have to wait and see, because he's got a nice 8/10 gap at the moment.
That championship rival of his, William Humphrey, about to head around the final corner now. We'll ride on with him as he does that and see if he can post his first valid lap time. He's set a purple in the second sector. Let's see if it's going to be enough to dislodge that initial time of 149.457 set by Justin Rame. Let's see. Will crosses the line. Is it valid? Yes, it is. It's good enough to take pole position provisionally away from his championship rival by just 69 100ths of 69 1,000ths even of a second. Something tells me that these two are going to go toe-to-toe, probably beat each other's lap times lap after lap as we approach the final 5 minutes of qualifying here. Mike Murphy, he's set 2 personal bests in the Premier class in the opening 2 sectors, and that's enough to go half a second quicker than Martin Kenyon in P2. The lap time's really strong and very close, actually, in the Premier class at the moment.
It's good to see how tight they are, especially with a little bit of time left on the clock. William Humphrey definitely with the upper hand, though. I think he'll be pleased to see himself at the top of the timesheets for the time being. Justin Rame, of course, who's been on a good run of form the last couple of weeks to get himself level with William Humphrey, after William Humphrey had a bit of a lead through the opening few rounds, but it's right back in the balance now, and realistically we've got a 4-round championship to see who can take the title, which is great to see. Humphrey, though, I think he was a little bit disappointed last week. He told us that he wasn't able to beat Justin, but it's going to give a bit of a fire in his belly to try and get the more wins tonight, I reckon.
I'm looking now at the timing sheets, and I'm seeing it's Mr. Ryan Otten's, Henry Coulin, Francois Brandet, and Dale Williams with those qualifying bans. However, only 2 of them are with us tonight. So Ryan Otten's and Francois Brandet currently sitting in the pit lane alongside Matt Hoyland and Yannis Olber. Yannis told me once again he's going to go for his last of first attempt, let's say, as he likes to pick off the field, so it'll be interesting to catch his race start. We finished the lap. Sorry, we started the lap. We may as well finish it. Is it going to be an improvement? No, it's not. 2.5 tenths slower on that lap by William Humphrey, and that is his complete. Luke Lucchese has also crossed the line. He's done. Who else have we got running? Here's Ben Chalcraft. He's had one win to his name this season. He's just come out the pit, so he's going to have this lap and then one more to put a time on the board. Chaz Draycott, let's catch on with him actually, his teammate, just there in the background. This should be Chaz's final lap time as it stands. So provisionally then, it's William Humphrey, Mike Murphy and Robin Noel Brown, the provisional class pole sitters, closely followed by, though, Justin Rem, Martin Kenyon and Matthew Noel. And we can see there, actually, Elite and Premier separated by more or less the same time, minus 1,000th of a second.
Doesn't really get much closer than that, does it?
Doesn't.
Down to the 1,000th of a second. We're not quite on the oval standard where we have to go down to the 10,000th of a second, but even so, see times being close. Chaz Draycott not able to improve, will stay P10 for the time being. Not exactly where he would want to be, and maybe looking for a little bit more. But with a few of the elite drivers not here this evening, it's a really, really good opportunity for the likes of Chaz Draycott to pick up some big points just by finishing the races. So I think that could be task number one for him tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely, Mr. Draycott currently in P10, and that's very wide on the exit of the final corner for Mr. Matt Stace. So he will not improve on this lap time. Currently quite a way down the order, and we have the third driver of Dennett Racing here coming around the final corner, Charlie Stothard, who's improved his personal best in the second sector, but doesn't look like he's going to improve. Yes, he does. He sets his first valid lap time of the session, actually, the number 6 machine Mercedes, down there at the bottom of the Evo standings as we look on. And then it's Ben Chalgraf that we left earlier. He's finishing off his lap. Let's take a look at everybody's lap time in order then, so we can just get a good idea about where we are. People in the 49s there at the front of the elite class, through the 50s, and then you can see a good chunk of those Premier drivers really matching the pace of some of the guys in the elite standings, and even 2 of them there in the Evo class.
Yeah, it's good to see how there's a couple in the Evo class. Robin Noel Brown has been a rapid driver, particularly last week, wasn't he, at Hockenheim, where he really, even though he's not been here too much, I think that was only his 3rd round of the season, he got 2 wins and a 2nd place, so really performed, turned up. And another kind of result like that tonight could shoot him up inside the top 7 of the standings. We'll have to see what he can do, but really interesting to see how high he can get. P13 overall, could get close to that reverse grid, and I think that's definitely going to be his aim for this opening round.
Yeah, the whole field there, as we see, separated by 3.5 seconds. Justin Rem and William Humphrey very close, within a 10th. Going to be a great battle once again, which we've come to expect. It's hard to know if some of these guys are just showing up and putting in a couple of good performances, but these guys have been going toe-to-toe for the last 7 weeks, so this will definitely continue with qualifying times such as these. A little bit of a gap, 3.5 tenths down to Jimmy Vyman and Luke Lucchese, who will again share, I'm sure, a good battle tonight. And then we have Mr. Mike Murphy, the Premier leader, as things stand, in a little bit of a sandwich there. Sebastian Bonnet in P6 and Martin Kenyon, his Premier Division rival, in P8. We have James Howarth on the circuit, do we not? Yes, we do. Here he is, but he is also going to be finished very shortly. And we have just over 30 seconds until we can bring you the grid for the opening round of 2 races here at Portimao. And there's a lovely practice start in the BMW, sounding as good as ever. And Mr. Howard's joining us as well on the driver cams for the first time this evening. So we'll flash up some of those guys as we get on. So the 4 drivers at the back of the grid who weren't able, or who didn't, or who weren't able to set lap times: Mr. Yannis Olber, Francois Brandet, Matt Hoyland, and Ryan Ottens.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of work to be doing from the back of the field, especially with a couple of drivers having some qualifying bans as well. That's all going to come into effect. So we're going to have a good 36, 37, 38 drivers overall, which is going to be fantastic to see. I will quickly say that I did double check before we get onto the grid that Robin Mackay has said that Cass may be an elite driver according to James's welcome message. So I don't know necessarily what that means, but we'll try and work that one out.
Well, that could be a miscommunication. but I did double check. So let's see what happens. Okay then, running through the grid while we have some time then, it's William Humphrey who sets the fastest lap time once again tonight. He starts on pole position, sharing the front row of the grid alongside his championship protagonist Justin Ray. And it's then Jimmy Vyman and Luke Lucchese sharing the second row of the grid. Mike Murphy takes pole position in the Premier Class in P5 alongside Sebastian Bonnet in P6. Martin Kenyon and Jeremy Chioka share the fourth row of the grid ahead of Jay Coley and Ben Chalcraft, the top 10. Cass Brinkhausen, let's go with that, and Maxim Dimitrov on the sixth row of the grid with Robin Noel Brown and Robin Aston sharing the seventh row. Stephen Donnelly and Thomas Saborin with Matthew Noel and Dennis Collar in P18 with James Bostock and John Ludbrook rounding off the top 20. And we scroll through for Hussein, Sarah Cadezla, Pierre Borez, Chaz Draycott, Rob Smith, the top 24, Rob Pickle, Josh Ostick, Andrew Fellows and Steve Rubino, the top 28, with Gareth Newton, James Howarth, Danny Weir, Charlie Stothard, the top 32, Rob Mackay and Matt Stace, the last of the qualifiers ahead of Yanis Aubert, Ryan Ottens, Francois Brandet and Matt Hoyland of DXT Magenta down there in P38. That pack, Ottens, Aubert, championship leader Brandet and Matt Hoyland, is going to be something to watch as they carve through the field. And we just catch the lights just in time then. It's William Humphrey to lead us off the line. We're looking for 5 and we have them. And we're away for the first round here at Portimao tonight. It's round 7 and some good starts there in the background, and Will immediately comes over to cover off the inside line, but Justin's got himself alongside Will, not leaving him any room as he comes back over to defend the outside line, which is now putting pressure on there by Jimmy Vyman, who runs off the circuit ever so slightly. Justin Rames still with his nose on the inside line. It's going to be difficult for William to really hang it around the outside. Let's see if he can. He'll have the inside line as they head over the crest at turn 4. It looks like he's done it, but this battle will continue as they head down toward the hairpin, up and over the crest. It looks like everyone's got through cleanly, and we're underway for this 30-minute sprint.
Yeah, inside line for William Humphrey, down into the hairpin at turn number 5. Can he get it stopped in time? Justin Rame trying to dance his way around the outside, but Humphrey should just about get the run out of the corner, you'd think, to hold on to it in towards 7 and 8, but Justin Rame is still there as they work their way into this middle sector. Double right-hander, William Humphrey covering off the line. There's no way through for Justin Rame, and these two at the top of the championship, they are fighting it out side by side on the opening lap. Exactly what we want to see, not giving each other an inch, and just about William Humphrey coming through to benefit in the end. Yanis Aubert, I can see at the bottom there, I think he's already out of the race. Another awful start to a day, and a former GT3 champion in the ESR not having a good time in the GT4s.
No, I didn't really get a chance to look up and down the grid. Hussein sticking his nose up the inside of the Aston Martin ahead. That looks like it's Matthew Noel, who we're right on board with now. I didn't have any significant issues popping up on the timing sheets. No incidents to mention at the moment. I wonder if Yanis even started the race perhaps, because I'm not seeing him getting involved in any incidents. Big gainers then off the start. Ryan Ottens, as we said, he started right down there toward the back. He's up 9 places. Any big losers? A flash of the headlights there by somebody. I'm not sure who that was. Was that perhaps the ORA machine in front? Danny Weir, he's had an incident. What's happened to him? He's down the order off the grass and going for a little pirouette up on that bank. Gets it back facing in a straight line. We'll catch up with what happened to Danny at the start. But that's the opening lap complete then. And who's this? That's Josh Ostick, who's going very close in behind Mr. Sarika Dazzler. Backs out of that one and thinks better of it. Has he got a car up his inside now though? Yes, that's the pink BMW of Dennis Curler, who looks like he might have just got ahead here. Let's ride on with Chaz Draycott and see what he's seeing as these two drivers fight ahead of him.
Yeah, side by side through turn 3, not exactly where you want to be, particularly into turn 4. Bit of an up and under here for Chaz. Can he get through on this better line? Let's see. He's got the drive out of the corner against Josh Ostick, but can he make it pay? Down in towards turn 5, he could look for an inside line. Ostick maybe looked for an inside line on Dennis Curler, but nothing happening there. Chaz with a very tight line through the hairpin. It's going to work out well for him though, because Ostick didn't get the best of runs. He's got the acceleration though, and I do believe that Ostick in his McLaren will hold on to the position. There he is in the in the purple entry, as I think there was another bit of a swap for the lead. Humphrey and Rame are fighting it out at the front, where they were momentarily, and they're swapping again here.
Up at the front. Oh, there's been an issue. Luke Lucchese, he's round and he's off the circuit.
Humphrey.
Justin Rem is round. They're all round actually. Humphrey's tumbling down the order, and Justin Rem is now down. He's in P6, so there's been an issue there between the leaders. We'll definitely jump back to see what happened there. So that is Justin Rame in P6, William Humphrey down in P20 overall. 9th in class, disastrous for the both of them really, but Will, who's come off the worst there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there. They were going side by side towards the top of the hill, maybe some lines meeting each other as they make their way through the corner, which is very weird, but we'll have to see if we can get a replay of that at any point. This is Cas Sprinkhausen, of course, our newest driver. I did double check, I believe he is in the elite class. As per a message James had sent into the chat, but very easy to get a couple of these things confused. So he'll be going well for the time being, but it means that Stephen Donnelly is still provisionally on that Premier podium. But good to see that Cass is doing well in his opening race in the GT4s, and also good to see how he's running just behind Jay Cooley, that is, in front. So he will be P7 in class, just ahead of Luke Lucchese. Oh, there we go. Oh, Joe, you worked your magic, Joe.
Did it work? Amazing, amazing. Well, there we go. It didn't work last time. I'm not sure who the driver was, but earlier in the season, that didn't work. But it's worked this time, so there we go. Car's back in the, what we hope is the correct slot, and I think that will serve us better. 250 does make sense. So he rides in P7. Mike Murphy leads, Martin Kenyon leads, Stephen Donnelly, and we're back in good shape. Let's take a look then at what happened there between the two championship leaders. Luke Lucchese involved as well. I think this will be it. Let's go back and see. So we've got William there. Oh, slight rear contact there by Justin. Sends it up the inside at turn 10. Luke Lucchese thinks he's going to get involved. Massive net code. And Will, oh God, Will's just a passenger in that incident there, sadly. And he just kind of got collected by the two of those drivers there.
And Justin's a bit of a passenger in that scenario. Let's see. Oh yeah, the little bit of contact between those two is forcing Justin well out wide. Luke, oh, he thought there was a gap. It ended up closing up on him. And the spin just went into the other two, and all three of them skittled their way out. Awful for William Humphrey, particularly considering that, you know, you can't necessarily blame Justin Rame for that. The two title rivals almost just getting taken out through no fault of their own. Yeah, Lucchese up the inside, all three of them synchronized spinning, it seems, and they've all come off pretty badly from it.
Yeah, sadly it looked as though Will left copious amounts of room around the outside, and even then, when you've got two cars coming sideways at you, there's not an awful lot you can do to avoid that. Justin has benefited somewhat then, because he's still up there in P4. Will now down in P10. So that's a deficit that he's going to have to try and overcome. Let's take a look at how we are in the overall standings, bearing in mind the reverse grid. William down there in P17 overall, so he is well out of those reverse positions. Let's see how he goes though. Still 24 minutes to go, and if you can put in some good lap times, you could claw back some of that deficit, especially in this early phase, while there's still so much frantic going on at the moment. That didn't make much sense, but I think you get my point.
Yeah, and it is pretty frantic on these starts when there's so many cars, especially when there's three classes, because drivers are just climbing all over each other realistically, because even if they aren't fighting for class position, you need to be getting up to the drivers that are for class position, which makes it all the more frustrating. If you are if you're in the Premier class and you've got three Evo drivers in front of you, it can be so difficult to try and get through the Evo drivers and then go after your Premier rival, which will be for a gain of points. So big differences or discrepancies there. Matthew Noel to the inside. The Canadian driver to the inside. Can he get that one stopped? He can. It looked like for all the world that was going to be worse in terms of any kind of contact, but in the end, Matthew Noel, the Canadian driver, just about keeping it on the circuit, trying to send it again. This is all on the back of James Bostock, who's actually inviting his teammate John Ludbrook into the battle now, and this is getting a bit messy into the final couple of corners.
It is. Hussein is capitalising on this as well a little bit. We've got Josh Ostick sniffing around the rear of all of these drivers there, and that is Bostock leading ahead of Matthew Noel and then John Ludbrook. So this is a battle for P2 in the Evo standings. That's right on with Mr. Ludbrook as he looks to try and get that place back. It was an opportunistic move by Matthew Noel as he sniffed up the inside at, I think it was turn 10. So a very, very difficult braking zone, and then he just held it, made it stick, and now he's taken that P2 away from Mr. Ludbrook. We've got some gaps right toward the front at the moment. We've got Jeremy Chioka, who's very, very close. In fact, he's alongside Justin Rame, who's looking to get ahead. I think he has got ahead, and he'll have the inside line going at the hairpin. That could be another place up for Justin. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Justin moves up now into P4, and he's still got his eyes on the leader up there, Jimmy Vyman, who just left the picture. It's Vyman, then Sebastian Bonnet, and then Justin Rem, with Mike Murphy in the Premier class currently leading P2 overall.
I think the key part of this opening race is going to be the reverse grid aspect. Of course, 10 drivers, only 10 drivers get reversed. And you can see that William Humphrey is P10 in his own class. He's going to be behind quite a few Premier drivers. It's not looking too rosy at the moment for William Humphrey. Got a lot of work to do. If he can get into that reverse grid and try and run away at the front, he could still pick up some really, really big points here this evening. Of course, points are the same in race 1 and in race 2. If Justin Rame can only get to if he can get to P2 in this race, and that's his cap, then, you know, he'll be starting from P9 or P8, depending on where Mike Murphy finishes, and he will have a lot of work to do to gain up from there. If William Humphrey can get himself at the back end... Oh, no, that's Francois Brandet. Oh, he's had an awful day so far.
Well, I was just about to cut to him. He was up 12 places, thinking, yeah, he's had a great start. He was up there in P6 in class. And then just as I was ready to click on him, he went crumbling down the order. Let's quickly cut back and see what happened to him. It was at the top of the hill again. Is it contact or is it his own mistake here? Let's see. Goes wide, unsettled slightly on entry. Oh, and he's been turned in there slightly by that damaged Mercedes. He was entitled to be there more than alongside. It looked as though the Mercedes took quite a wide entry actually, but then in the end turned in on him at the apex. Not too much damage on that Porsche, but that's time lost for sure for what was a charging Brandet at the start, up 12 positions.
They've got a lot of work to do. I mean, not just him, but of course William Humphrey as well. So not been the best of days for championship leaders. James Bostock's had some issues as we see Brandet absolutely launch himself over the inside curb at turn 1 and lose a position to another couple of drivers there as they make their way in towards turn 3. But James Bostock having some big issues. He's dropped down about 15 seconds as up and under from Brandet gets himself back in front of one of the Premier cars. But for the time being, it's quite a messy race, quite an important race, clearly, for the championship, because we could see some big moments in terms of points differentials happen here.
Lovely switchback on the exit of turn 4 there by Francois. Planned that one to a T. Got himself right on the back of Danny Weir, his teammate ahead in the Cyan team. Let's see what Danny does ahead. He's actually got Rob Mackay for company as well. So 3 DXT drivers sharing the same piece of tarmac at the moment. Are they going to put too much of a challenge up for Francois? Let's wait and see, but a lovely move nonetheless to get himself and keep that position ahead of Rob Pickle, who sits just a tenth or two behind him. He'll still be right there in his mirrors, but Francois will be looking ahead at his 2 fellow DXT drivers, thinking, right, how long is it going to take to try and claw back those positions that he lost only a lap ago?
It's a key part of the race as well. We're approaching half distance. Drivers are kind of settling into a rhythm. If you've had some issues off the start, you're going to have to be starting to make a couple of moves now and inroads pretty quickly. An example of that, William Humphrey. He's making a move past Thomas Sabora, and he's just set the purple lap time fastest of anybody in that 298 car. So he's doing all he can to get himself back inside the top 10. This is how he did it over the start finish straight, it seems, and get a little bit of slipstream, maybe a little bit of side drafting as well. Get your car to the inside, and then you'll be able to control it down into turn 1. And it seems that a couple of the drivers wanting to fight William too hard, and they know how quick he is.
Yeah, letting him through there, probably wise. He had the inside line, and regardless, that would have been Will's position, and he made it stick. We've got a great battle here as we head through turn 1, 2, 3. That is the Aston Martin of Matthew Noel battling some elite drivers here. We've got Pierre Borez, who's actually the lone... Pierre Borez and Chaz Draycott, actually, the 2 lone drivers out of class. It's fellows Newton Stothard and then Noel and Howarth, all in the elite class in this gaggle of cars. So these guys want to watch themselves, and I'm also going to cut back to see what happened to Mr. Bostock earlier. He's now down in P10, dropped 10 places as he just carried some speed, and the Aston Martin looks to get up the inside, gets turned in on, and he spins them both round, doesn't hold his brakes, takes out Hussein. That's Hussein into the barrier, I think there. Yes, he is there recovering, and they get themselves off the circuit and get going again.
Yeah, so clearly we've not been short of incidents so far tonight. I think the series are going to be kept busy over the course of the next week. But I think it's because of this circuit having open corners like we see here at turn 9 and 10. Open wide corners where there are multiple lines that you can take. They just end up merging into each other. And I think that's what we're seeing quite a bit here.
Oh, no.
With a lot of the drivers. What's happened?
This has happened. He's gone again.
No.
And is that his race over? No, he's still going. But that is a full crash once again for William Humphrey, and I think that's turn 14 as they head over the final crest on the final corner. I wonder if he's just lost the rear there. As we said, turn 14, quite an inviting corner to get the power down early. Let's go back and see what happened. It's been a disastrous race so far for Will. He's got that Space Raiders machine on the outside of him, and he's just... Yeah, it's not his night at all for William. But he's still going though. He's still got that fight in him. Still needs to get some points on the board. But that's 2 incidents really, where Will's been a little bit of a passenger. And now he finds himself getting past his teammate Charlie, who won't have put up too much of an effort there at all. Who's that in behind? Is that James Bostock there? 3 wide as they head up and over the crest. Oh, giving it a little bit back to Matthew Noel is Mr. Bostock, turning in as he did the lap before. This time though, the physics and the netcodes say that's okay. We're both going to stay in a straight line, and all of a sudden, under pressure from James Howarth, let's ride on board with the DXT BMW machine and see how Mr. Howarth's getting on for the first time. Here he is on driver cams, got his eyes set on that Camé GP2 machine ahead as we enter now toward the second sector through turn 7 into turn 8. Tricky on the brakes, got to get it over that apex curve, but mind the sausage on the right hand side and up and over the crest. And now let's watch actually as he heads over this blind crest at turn 10.
See what he can do at the moment. Interesting to see how William Humphrey get past Chaz Draycott first of all, and he's back up to P11. But how close some of these classes are. Chaz Draycott, of course, 12th in class. James Bostock 10th in class. They're not very far away from each other. They're both in the shot. We can just about see with James Hayworth going in towards turn 13. But yeah, difficult at the moment for quite a few drivers. It's going to be big mix, I think, when we get to the reverse grid, and a few of the Premier drivers particularly going to be feeling pretty happy about how their day is going. But, you know, the likes of Rob Mackay won't be too pleased, but it's a bit of a Rob fest at the moment at the back of the Premier class. All 3 of them at 12th, 13th and 14th, looking for better results in race 2.
And I want to point out, it's Mr. Rob Mackay that we've got on driver cams now, arguably the best dressed sim racer of all time. He's got a shirt and tie. I don't know if you can see that, Dara, but he's got a shirt and tie on. A lovely sky blue tie with perfectly done there, actually. Yeah. He's been at a wedding all day or something like that. It was either a wedding or a funeral, so I should probably try and get that right. But he said that he had lots of pints on board, and he's arrived back. Didn't have time to get changed. And he's going to make a move here. No, he's not. That's Francois, so he wants to be careful. Doesn't want to put too much pressure on his teammate. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anybody so well dressed for a sim race.
I have, but it was a charity event, so I don't necessarily think that counts, because this is more this is the good. It's the best dressed I've seen for a competitive race. Let's put it that way. But nice to see that he's smart for the occasion. Interesting that he hasn't even taken the tie off. That would have been my first thing. You know, give myself a bit of air. But clearly, Rob enjoying his time in the shirt. It's just not serving him too well at the moment, is it? Down in P13. We'll see what he can do though. Particularly in race 2 when everyone bunches themselves back up again. That will give him a big shot, especially if we have a bit of incident off the start, which we have been a little bit prone to so far today. But with only 38 cars, you can see them all on the left-hand side of your screen. It will still be a busy race. This is Sarika Dessler fighting away with Dimitrov, but the Iron Brew liveried car holding firm. Or is it actually? Bit of a bad run through turn 14. Sarika Dessler with a much better run in his Suma GP2. Inside line at turn 15. We'll get that one done. The only issue is Dimitrov's going to have the slipstream down towards turn number 1.
He absolutely is. Let's take a look. Huss covers the inside line, and it's going to be the Mercedes who dips back into the slipstream, I think, at the moment. Let's just ride on board with him and see what he sees. He has got a bit more of a run, actually, as he enters turn 1. Is he going to look to get the exit? Is Huss going to come back over to the left-hand side? Yes, he is. Good line there by Maxime. Carried a little bit more speed than the Porsche through that corner, but I think for now, that's going to be Hussein up into P19 overall, P7 in the Premier Division as it stands. And I did want to make a note about Rob, actually. Let's see by the end of the night if that shirt is still buttoned or if the tie has been taken off.
Yeah, maybe during the little break between race 1 and 2, we might see a little bit of changes. Oh yeah, Francois Brandet gone around again. He's having a torrid day. Interesting that Brandet and Humphrey aren't having good races so far, because as it stands, they both won't be able to gain enough points to not take this as a drop round, but it still means Humphrey will pick up 83. Oh, and again,
it's his teammates. Well, the sister team.
Oh no.
Yeah, miscommunication there between what I can only imagine. I think that's Danny Weir, and those guys will be in Discord together. And you'd think Francois might have gave him a call there, maybe a call a second or two late, and that's Danny Weir turning in on the champion at the moment. He's got a big enough points gap to really see this through, but with a week to forget last week, potentially another week to forget this week, you think surely he can't lose it now, can he?
You'd think. But again, he's still going to get 95 points tonight. Whether he... Yeah, well, I mean, he's not going to be able to get towards the top 2 now. So he's still going to pick up 95 points tonight. Whatever's going to happen from here, unless we see the top 9 in EVO, fall by the wayside in the last 11 minutes, which I think is highly unlikely. So he'll still find himself on 711 points with 3 rounds to go. John Ludbrook, even though he's in second, is going to be struggling to keep up. That gap is still going to be about 150. So... it's still looking good for Francois, and he's been able to afford this kind of bad week because of his good performances all the way up to this point.
We've got some comments in the chat which are quite amusing from John Breitenbach saying, I wonder if he's got his fancy shoes on, does Mr. Mackay, or maybe he's just racing in his socks. I would like to know if he's still got the full attire on. That would be quite something. But yeah, you're totally right about Francois. Still, John will make up some points. Won't be enough though. And as we say, with only 10 drivers in that class, it's still not the worst thing, but mentally, psychologically, putting your pressure on yourself after having such a good run of form, I'm sure he'll find himself on the top step again before the end of the season. But with 2 weeks in a row where things maybe don't go to plan, it can all sort of, the pressure can pile on, and it's kind of, John's got nothing to lose at this point, currently sitting in P2 at the moment with a nice gap in front, a nice gap behind for the Camry GP2 machine. Not much for him to need to do in the final 10 minutes. Just got to keep it on the rails and keep it steady at the moment.
Yeah, it's looking good, particularly for the likes of John Ludbrook, who has been so consistent this season. 6 podiums in the 14 races, only missing out on the top 5 in 6 rounds, and I think 2 of them he didn't even finish the race. So really impressive consistency, looking like it's going to be yet another podium for him. Here he will theoretically start to close that gap up to Francois Brandet, but of course Francois has those points to fall back on. The really big thing for John Ludbrook here, though, is that he'll be gaining away from Andrew Fellows, who is currently down in P5. His drop round is 39 points, and with the amount of points he's picking up tonight, you'd think that everything he gets here is going to count. So it's looking good for John Ludbrook to consolidate P2, and I really think that's probably where his mind's going to be rest of this season, because Brandet is just so far in front. He'd need the next 2 rounds to be really problematic for anybody to catch him, as Hoyland looks like he's trying to get through on Dimitrov, getting a bit close there, and that rear end not looking too kind either.
Yeah, a little bit of a wobble there on the exit of 4, as we've seen from a few drivers already very close to the back. The 2 Mercedes cars sharing the track at the moment. There's Hussein ahead, a little bit wide at the hairpin. Holden keeps it nice and tidy, down to first gear now, up through the gears, uphill. Let's see how he tackles turn 7 now, as he's right in behind Dimitrov. He doesn't have another elite driver ahead of him up until William Humphrey in P19, which is ahead of this gaggle of cars with a little bit of a gap ahead. And he's actually now, has he just put himself alongside? I think he has. Let's cut away and let's see as he goes side by side up through turn 10. That's gone wrong for so many drivers. A nice tight line there for Hoyland up the inside. I think that's going to be moved done. Maxime might struggle to capitalise again, which he has. That's Hoyland up into P21, but overtaking a Premier driver makes no difference for him in the interclass standings. Let's take a look at the sheet overall then, and we can see at the moment it's Thomas Saborin who sits in P10, and we'd have the 2 Premier drivers there. Robin Noel Brown needs to overcome, well, best part of 5 or 6 seconds really to get himself inside the top 10. Unlikely this week, so it's going to be a reverse grid of Premier drivers and elite drivers as it stands at the moment.
Saborin in that really critical position. Shalcraft, though, is going to be you're really racing him for it to the end of the Grand Prix, of the opening rounds tonight. Robin Noel Brown is doing a good job, despite the fact he's looking unlikely to be in that reverse grid, but even starting P12 could be critical. If he somehow is able to get inside the top 10, then he'll be starting on the, probably the front row if he's able to get there, meaning that he's going to have a huge gap back to anybody else, which would be so beneficial to him. But for the time being, Martin Kenyon is going to be having a good time in that reverse grid, and as a driver who's sitting in 3rd on the back of Stephen Donnelly, these could be some really crucial points in this race tonight.
Yeah, we're riding on with Jimmy Vyman, who's doing a good job at the front of the grid. He will be conscious now, though, that Justin has recovered all of those lost positions. 3.5 seconds the difference. Lap times, Justin's about 0.2 quicker from his best lap, and was 0.2 quicker also on his last lap. So at the moment, it's not going to be enough for Justin to catch at this pace. So Jimmy just has to be cautious of that. Keep it nice and steady. If he has to, he can afford a few more tenths gap every lap. Just got to keep it nice and steady. Don't make any mistakes. Don't try and push too hard. And I think in the final 6 minutes here, which what will be only another 3 or 4 laps, you can see there Justin in the background. It doesn't look that far, but it is quite a lot for him to overcome. Is that Mike Murphy, Jeremy Chioka? Yes, it is. Mike has led him through, drops down into P4. So it's now the elite driver of Vyman, Rem and Chioka who lead the way at the front of the field. Let's keep an eye on Justin, see how much time he can gain lap after lap. But as I say, something tells me that without a mistake, it's going to be Jimmy Vyman's night so far tonight.
That was a very astute move, I think, from Mike Murphy to let through Jeremy Chioka, because if I was Mike Murphy now, I'd be starting to think about trying to let through everybody down to Cass Brinkhausen. Due to the fact that he won't be losing any points because of it, he'll just be getting himself a better starting position to try and get through a Martin Kenyon in the second race, which would be a very smart thing to do, of course. Yes, he could get the overall podium, but realistically, it doesn't really mean anything in terms of a championship. For his championship aspirations, dropping down to P8 really overall could do him a world of good and would lose him absolutely nothing. So that could be something we see towards the end of the race, but there's still battles going on. I mean, anything in orange on that tower means that the drivers are going to be pretty much stuck together. Bostock and Noel, an example of that, they're fighting for 24th and 25th. A gaggle of cars back at the back end of the top 30, and then that gaggle around top 10. Chalcraft and Saborin could be interesting final few minutes, especially considering they're right on the back of Martin Kenyon. Kenyon's going to be hanging on to that position in the top 10 for dear life, but one of those 3 drivers is going to have to miss out. And oh my word, that is Saborin trying to get through a Martin Kenyon. Does it cost him a position to Chalcraft?
Yeah, and he's really thinking about it, is Ben. He's got to be aware that he's on the brink of getting into that pole position at the moment, and he's right on the... Oh, that's not the right guy. He's right on the rear of Thomas Saborin. Is he going to get the run? Let's right on board, see if Ben can get the run in that Porsche of his up against the Aston Martin. Both of them went a little bit wide there. It looks about equal matched at the moment. Luke Lucchese has got past Sebastian Bonnet, had the battle that we caught at the start of the last lap. There's been a drama as well for Steve Rubino, who's had an incident. He dropped down a handful of places. If we get a moment, we'll go back and see what happened to him. But definitely entertaining now. We see Justin Rem has actually cut a second out of Jimmy already. We could see a battle here. If that continues, we could theoretically see a battle for the lead of the race on the final lap. Maybe. It might still just be a little bit too much, but that's definitely more than I thought Justin would take out of Jimmy in just those 1 or 2 laps that we saw. That's deep. That's deep by P10. That's deep by Thomas Saborin. He scooped it up nicely on the exit, held it nicely, but Ben maybe thought about an opportunity there, and he'll definitely be wanting to stay in the mirrors of the Aston Martin, putting him under a little bit of pressure, see if he can force a move in what will be the final handful of laps here.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 more at the end of this one. Jimmy Vyman's going to cross the line with more than enough time to get around once more before the white flag will fly, but that'll give the likes of Ben Chalcraft that little bit more time to make these moves. Rob Pickle to make these moves. Fellows and Stoddard going side by side just in front. Bit of an up and under though from Andrew Fellows. Is it going to work out for him? Not particularly. Well, sorry, I was talking about Rob Pickle there getting the up and under in that cyan blue car. He's going to get his way through. Outside line not going to help him though. We see Stoddard bouncing his way over the inside curves, but into turn 8, swooping to the inside line. Rob Pickle gains that position, albeit on another Evo driver, so he doesn't gain any points from it. He's still down in P11 in class, but he'll still be picking up points, unlike the likes of Albert, Brandet, Smith and Mackay.
Closing in then on the final stages, fellows, hanging on to P5. He's got a huge gap ahead to Steve Rubino, so nothing giving there for a top 4 for Andrew this time, but he's got to defend against Charlie, the 2 cars behind, and he's got James Hayworth and Gareth Newton in P7 and 8 all the way down, just coming into your picture there behind the BMW. So elite drivers will see Andrew ahead. And he's got to be careful here with Rob Pickle. Out of class, doesn't want to do too much, does Mr. Fellows. He's got to keep it nice and clean, convert these points. And let's see how we're getting on here between Chalcraft and Saborin. As we left them this time last lap, gap pretty much the same as it was. So, might be... wait, am I saying this correctly? No, P9 in class. Still P10 on the road with those two Premier drivers ahead, so still lots to go wrong, lots that can change, and as you said, Darryl, we might be about to find ourselves on the white flag very shortly.
Yeah, I think we will when we hit the line the next time, because there's only 1 minute to go, and I don't think you're going to be able to get a full lap in. And if you are, I'll be seeing that lap, quite frankly, at the end of the day. But Weimann through the final corner, 50 seconds on the clock, more than enough time for us to find the white flag, and Barney will be up in his little box waving it profusely, I do expect. For Jimmy Weimann, though, he's got a 2-second gap. It's just a case of bringing this home to the end. Would be a great result for him. Of course, he's been consistent so far this season, which is why he's up in P6, but he's not had anything better than a P3. It'd be his first win, and only his 4th podium in the season, for that matter. And even with that, one of them doesn't count because it was at Magny-Cours, and he dropped that round. So it'd be his 3rd podium that even mattered.
Absolutely there. So we caught the top 3 leading the way across the line. It's Weimann leading Rem, but that gap has been oh no, it hasn't actually. It's a blue flag, sorry, that I caught there. I think that is Mr. Ryan Otten, so he will have elite pace, but he's down there a lap down. Robin Noel Brown has just set the fastest lap of his class of 50.2, so a good end to his race. Currently 7 seconds down to John Ludbrook, 9 seconds there in the Premier class between Mike Murphy and Martin Kenyon. So it's the elite class at the moment, 2.5 seconds, not going to be enough. As we said, it seemed as though it closed dramatically between Justin and Jimmy in one lap, but it seems to have levelled itself off nicely. Environment, without a mistake, will come across the line for what is a nice win for him. And wondering, has he been able to convert a race win? No, he hasn't. He's had 3 podiums so far this season. Some common results, P5s, P4s, P9s, and 3 P3s. 2 around Road Atlanta, 1 around Magny-Cours for this man, Jimmy Weimann, and we'll watch him now as he heads through the final sector. This is turn 13, now 14. Only 1 more to go. Won't have to use the brake pedal until he crosses the line. Just a little lift as he heads up and around turn 15. And it's going to be the Frenchman for G-League who's going to convert maximum points here at Portimao in the opening round. And for the first time this season, Jimmy Weimann comes across the line to win a race in a GT4 machine.
Yeah, what a result for him. Great to see as well. Another winner on the year. It's good to see us racking them up as we work our way through. Raymond Chioka, 2nd and 3rd. Chioka's going to be pretty pleased about that podium, I'm sure, as well. That's only his 2nd podium of the season after his win at Hockenheim last time out. Mike Murphy, of course, winning in the Premier class. Kenyon and Aston will be 2nd and 3rd. The important thing will be the back end of the top 10. I think Chalcraft ended up getting Sabora, and I think that'll be the reverse grid. But as they all come across the line now, Noel Brown, another dominant win from him. He's been really impressive the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
picking up all the drivers as they cross the line. There's John Ludbrook in P2. Here's Matthew Noel down there in P3 in the Evo class, and that will round off all of our podiums up and down the grid. Still some guys making their way around. Here's Matt Stace. He is the last man to cross the line. Danny Weir just ahead of him, coming around the final corner now in that lovely chrome and cyan McLaren. Not a bad result for Danny, P9. He'll hope for better, but at least he's brought it home. There's teammate of James Hayworth ahead in P8, and then we ride on with Matt Stace in what is like quite a nice what do you call those shapes? I'm not sure, but it looks like that 3D texture on the side of that Porsche, which is very nice. And he rounds the final corner to close off the standings for the opening round. We're going to have a 5-minute break and a reverse top 10 before we get underway for that second 30-minute sprint race ahead of the final 3 weeks of the championship. So let's take a quick look and a quick rundown of the race results here in the opening round. So Jimmy Weimann, he comes across the line to win for the first time this season. That's for G-League, the 229 machine, ahead by 2.5 seconds to who will be the current elite standings leader, Justin Rame for Grid and Go Esports. Jeremy Chioka will make that a double podium for the G League team. He comes across the line in P3. Luke Lucchese and Sebastian Bonnet round off the top 5 with Jay Corley and Kaz Brinkhausen in P7 with Ben Shalcraft, Thomas Saborin and William Humphrey the top 10. Not a great result for the Elite Championship protagonist, but still plenty to fight for in the next few rounds. Matt Hoyland came from the back of the grid to finish in P11 ahead of Chaz Draycott for Spontex CDM Esports, and it's Ryan Ottens who finished one lap down, who will score points. Yannis Aubert didn't get off the line, the German for MRC, for 9.5.
And moving on to the Premier class then, and I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record at this point because I say it every single week. Mike Murphy is your winner, this time by 10 seconds. Not the biggest margin that we've seen so far this year, but again, keeping that dominance up and picking up his 8th win in 15 races. Incredible stuff so far. Martin Kenyon is in 2nd place. He'll be pleased about that. He'll be catching up to Stephen Donnelly as well, with Robin Aston in 3rd. It was pretty close between Josh Ostick and Dennis Curler for 4th and 5th, but Ostick's run of podiums will come to an end with a 4th. Stephen Donnelly in 6th place for the Irishman, ahead of Hussein Saragadesla and Maxim Dimitrov in 7th and 8th. We saw Pierre Perez in 9th and James Bostock, after his issues, rounding out the top 10, with Rob Pickle in 11th, ahead of Matt Stace in 12th. They were both in the lead lap, but sadly for Rob Smith and Rob Nakai, neither will pick up the points. They did not see the checkered flag.
And now wrapping up the Heat 1 results with the Evo class, it's Robin Noel Brown who keeps up his incredible form. Couldn't get himself inside the top 5 to save his life in the first 5 weeks, and then last week and this week it's been 4 podiums in a row, 3 race wins in 4, and a P2 in the feature race last week sees him back on the top step of the podium, the number 22 machine. 8.2 seconds ahead of John Ludbrook, who's still fighting his way, picking off the points ahead of Francois Brandet. That's his first podium in a fortnight, having picked up 2 around Manicourt. Matthew Noel, the Canadian, gets himself on the podium once again. He also continues that run. That is now his 7th podium of the season and his 4th in a row after picking up 3 this time last week. Steve Rubino and Andrew Fellows, your top 5, with Charlie Stothard in P6. Gareth Newton, James Hayworth and Danny Weir, the top 9 of the finishers. And I'm unsure if Francois will pick up those points for finishing 6 laps down off the leader. So a night and a race, well not a night, but a race to forget so far for the DXT Emerald driver, who currently finds himself 145 points less this race ahead. Dara, you've probably got the up-to-date numbers, but that's going to be a deficit reduced ever so slightly by Ludbrook as Francois fails to finish that race.
It would be theoretically, only if the fact that with Francois definitely now having to drop back to his 95 points, the fact that we saw Ludbrook come 2nd means that unless he wins, he technically won't be gaining. Well, he can't actually gain. He'd have to try and match it if he wins this 2nd race. Otherwise, theoretically, with Francois' drop round, he will have lost ground, despite Francois maybe picking up as many as 0 points tonight. So it's a bit of a conundrum, but it's what you get with these drop rounds, and it kind of adds a bit of an added flavour. It's kind of the same in the elite class. With William Humphrey only finishing P10, he's going to have to drop this round because he cannot match the 83 that he got in Magny Core. So Justin Rain, with 45 points, has to pick up 38 points in this race, which means getting himself on the podium to still be in the lead of the championship. Otherwise, with the drop round, Humphrey retakes it. I'm
glad you've got those numbers in front of you, mate. It's a bit too much for me to do all of that and all of this as well, so you keep me right, but you're totally right. It is a different complexion when you have those drop rounds. Maybe people feel like they've got a bit of a safety net, and then all of a sudden, as you say, if William has another bad round, all of a sudden he picks up more points, and Francois, as you rightly said, is actually sort of not done himself a favour, of course, but it's not all too bad. We now ride with Francois as he makes the most of what is now the end of the warm-up. Did get 1 full lap out on the track, so he's done a good 2 full laps there, just getting himself up to speed ahead of this final race. He's going to be starting in a position that he's not used to, but definitely fancies his chances if he can keep it clean to start the race. As soon as we get the grid information, we will roll on, and I'll hand this over to you, Dara, to run us through the grid for the feature.
Right then, let's see. It will be Ben Shalcraft starting on pole position. Of course, he just about made it inside that top 10. He'll be ahead of Martin Kenyon, who leads for the Premier class. Cas Brinkhausen, in his first race in the GT4 League, will start, or it's the first round, I should say, will start P3 for the second race. Jay Cooley will be fourth. Bonnet and Lucchesi are on row 3. Mike Murphy, championship leader in the Premier class, will start 7th. Chioka, Rame, and Jimmy Vyman are in the top 10. Of course, Justin Rame, as I said, needs to try and get himself into the top 3 in class to retake that championship lead. Thomas Saborin is in 11th ahead of Evo leader Robin Noel Brown. Will be 12th. Aston and Ostick 13th and 14th, with Curler and Humphrey 15th and 16th. Ludbrook, Hoyland, Donnelly and Draycott are the top 20, as we may only be able to quickly show the likes of Sarah Kadesla, Dimitrov, Berezk, and Bostock top 24. Noel, Rubino, Pickle, Fellows, Stottard and Newton the top 30. Hayworth, Weir, Stace, Otten, Smith, Branday, Mackay and Allbear, the 38 drivers that will be making their way onto the grid. And we are going to the 5 red lights just about now then, as we will see who can claim a march in this race. Only a few more rounds to go after this. This could be a crucial one in the championship, and we are racing once again at Portimao. Very good start, it seems, from Ben Shalcraft. He will have a glorious run towards the opening turn. A little bit messy in the background though, 2-3 wide in the background as they all dive their way towards the opening turn. Forward momentarily, oh no, big dive. Drivers going into the back. Miraculously, everybody's made their way through the opening turn, facing in the right direction, albeit a couple of drivers maybe not in the positions that they were looking for, but manic towards the back, manic towards the front, and Cooley looking for moves around turn 4.
Little bit of a wobble there by Cass as he exited turn 4. Everyone seems to have got through cleanly, but this massive pack, Ludwig Casey looks to go to the inside, thinks about it off and backs out of that one. Looked like he was going to just sniff up the inside, make it 3 wide into the hairpin. Thought better of it. Let's see how we go toward the back. Let's catch all the drivers. Getting the stoppers on, getting it slowed down into a heavy braking zone, one of the heaviest on the circuit, but a very good start by all the drivers here. No reports of any incidents up and down the grid. Luke Lucchesi hanging it round the outside of Jeremy Chioka. He's taken P5 on track, P4 in class. Let's bring up the tower and let's see how we're getting on. Ben Shalcraft leads Brinkhausen ahead of Jay Corley, Luke Lucchesi and Jeremy Chioka, the top 5. Martin Kenyon right up there, he's P2 on the road, 4 nearly 5 seconds clear of Mike Murphy in P2 in the Premier class.
Yeah, big starts from a couple of these drivers as we work our way in towards turn 13, difficult braking zone, and Mike Murphy still fighting it out here with, I believe is that William Humphrey he's fighting with, I think it is, yeah. So those two fighting each other on the circuit. Good start in the end, clearly then, for William Humphrey after his problems in race 1. Steve Rubino going for an exploration. He's off the circuit down towards turn 13, mainly at turn 12. They'll make their way through the final corner, getting very close, but you can just about run side by side through the final corner on these GT4s.
Yeah, seeing many classes at the moment. Chaz is in a bit of a sandwich here. He's got Robin Aston ahead in the Premier class, Robin Noel Brown ahead in the Evo class, and John Ludbrook for company in behind in the Evo class. So Draycott doing what he can, currently P11 in class. And that's Stephen Donnelly. He's gone round. Where is he? He's off the road there. I can't even catch him. There he is. He's gone off the road, and that is a full incident for Donnelly. So we'll catch up and see what happened there at the moment. And now, as the pack make their way over turn 4 for the second time, we see the G-League machine of Jimmy Vyman going up the inside of Sebastian Bonnet. Going to get his nose ahead. Yes, he is. There's Justin Rain, the championship protagonist in the elite class, doing what he can to get on the back of these drivers. He's got 3 or 4 elite drivers right ahead of him. He'll want to make the most of it, and that's contact. He's spun round. That's Thomas Saborin round. Left him for dead, and Thomas has just about got the brakes on. That is not where you want to be. Is he going to make contact? He gets himself off the road. That's probably the best thing to do there. It was only a matter of time before someone came piling into the side of him.
Yeah, and good to see that we've managed to avoid some kind of large incident, but this is crazy, isn't it, as we make our way through turn 8 towards 10 and 11. Let's see how tricky it is. Up the inside goes Matt Hoyland. Can he make this one stick? Let's see as they dive down the hill. The line he takes suggests that he has got that one done, and the DXT Magenta car is moving on up. Lucchesi and Cooley have come together. I think Lucchesi has dropped down the order quite dramatically. Cooley and Raymond now fighting. Raymond, William Humphrey are now pretty close together. Something has happened, and that's not too far up the road. You can just about see the backs of that battle up in front, and this is what's going on. This is Humphrey and Lucchesi. Rame and Cooley, they are 2 by 2 through the final corner. Humphrey can see his championship rival. He knows he needs to get towards the front, but he has to get through on Lucchesi first.
Yeah, I was looking up and down the timing sheets. We saw what happened with Saborin earlier. Not too much more happening. Will just forcing Lucchese off of that second line there and darts back over to the outside of the corner there to get the entry right. He holds on to that position ahead of Luke Lucchese. That's William up 7 positions at the start. Traz Draycott up 8. Ryan Ottens up 11 down there in P23. He's the biggest gainer off the line. The biggest losers, as we saw, Stephen Donnelly and Thomas Saborin down 13 and 22 places respectively. Both of those drivers involved in an incident. Here's James Bostock and Hussein Sarakadesla, former teammates of course, both part of the sister GP2 teams, one Kame, one Suma. He's got John Ludbrook ahead. Bostock gets the better of Mr. Sarakadesla on this occasion, but Hus not giving up this battle just yet.
And they're going to continue fighting their way all the way through as they come in towards turn 7 and turn 8. But Sarakadesla having to sit in behind for the time being, and he is hustling, if you don't mind the pun, but he's trying his best. There's a nice little gaggle of cars actually just in behind these guys. You can see one of the emerald cars, and then the pink, I think that's Dennis Curler, and then a bright blue car of Rob Pickle. So a nice little trio for the eyes, but either way, oh, it's not nice on the eyes there for Rob Pickle though as he runs through turn 10. Dimitrov liked what he saw though. He's going to try and slip up the inside here. That wasn't Dimitrov. That's Ryan Ottens, the driver who was a lap down in the opening race, trying to recover as much as he can. He's P12 at the moment, but a lot of work still to do for him.
Big send, heavy on the brakes, got it slowed down nicely, got his way past Rob Pickle, the elite driver now up 12 places. P22 on the road, P12 in class for Ryan Ottens. He's a man on a mission after failing to finish on the lead lap this time last race. We've got a good battle here between Chaz Draycott, who's got Josh Ostick for company, about as close as you can get as they head down in towards turn 1. Not quite bump drafting on the entry, but it looked like he was very close from that angle. That's the elite the Premier driver currently in P2. Lots and lots of cars separating him from Martin Kenyon, who leads from the reverse grid start. And let's see what happened. We've got Justin Rem and William Humphrey on the track at the moment. Will has got his eyes set on his rival ahead as he heads into the braking zone at the hairpin. He'll be hoping for a wobble, hoping for a mistake so he can try and get ahead of Justin. But this is going to probably turn into quite a good battle as this race unfolds. Only 7 minutes have passed. We've still got lots and lots of time for lots of things to happen. Charlie Stothard's had an incident. We'll catch up with that in a moment. But let's keep our eyes on and see how the gap decreases between Humphrey and Rem. If it does, let's see. But Justin has got Sebastian Bonnier for company. Meanwhile, Will is in some free air of his own.
Can Will do in his pursuits to try and get up the order again? It doesn't really matter in terms of points for William Humphrey because he is going to be dropping this round at Portimao. What he can be doing at the moment though is to deny Justin Rame as many points as Rame can get. Of course, every point from here on out is going to count for Justin Rame, and as I said, the 83 points that will be picked up from the drop round from William Humphrey tonight, it's going to take a lot for Justin Rame to catch that. Needs to get onto the podium, and at the time being, for the time being in P6, it's not looking great. William Humphrey can really distract, get himself in the picture, and try and prevent Justin Rame from getting up the order. That's going to be his plan A. Rob Mackay, Maxim Dimitrov fighting it out, I do believe, through turn 14 into turn 15 we go. That Iron Brew car, you can just about see it. You can really see it now because Dimitrov sweeps across the front and cruises into what is P10. Rob Mackay, though, with a much better run out of the final corner. He'll have the inside line for turn number 1.
I do bring some exclusive content. Rob Mackay still has the tie intact, so he's going smart all the way at the checkered flag, which I love. And he's now breaking down into turn 1 with that car on his outside. Got to keep it smooth. There's some dust up ahead. Let's see what's happening up there. Who's that round? Dennis Curler is round. He's off the circuit. I think that was Thomas Saborin as well. Was he down there earlier? Was he not higher up? I'm not too sure, but it was definitely I've lost the driver. Who was that I just showed up there? Who was off the circuit? I'm not too sure. Dennis Curler. It was Dennis Curler.
Yeah, okay.
And
Oh, and that's someone else off the circuit. Is that Bostock and Sarakadesla? It is.
It is.
Oh, no.
Let's go back and see what happened there then. We just left those two drivers. That's around the outside. Is it a wobble? Oh, it's an oversteer. And James has collected his former teammate, the sister team, of course. And then they both just kind of anticlimactically just slowly drift into the barrier. Difficult to unstuck one another once you got that sort of net glue effect. Huss bangs it in reverse gear quite aggressively there. Gets going again. Mr. Bostock also getting it going ahead of Sarika does this. So not what you want to see between two former teammates. And they're still going at it here, even with the two damaged Porsches. That's not slowing them down as things stand.
They're going to continue fighting, no doubt about that, as they run their way through. This is Gareth Newton fighting with the 1-1-2 of Rob Pickle as they work their way through the final corner. Of course, different classes. Gareth Newton fighting for a podium in the Evo class, and it's going to be Rob Pickle trying to get himself towards the top 5 in the Premier class, and I think Pickle will come out on top of this one. And for Gareth Newton, it wouldn't be too bad of an idea to try and stick on the back of Rob Pickle at this stage of the race, try and gain a little bit using a little bit of his slipstream, and he won't make the move, but he bounces his way incredibly aggressively over that curve. We're seeing loads of drivers do that, aren't we?
Yeah, we're riding on now. This is the battle for P2 in the elite class. P3 on the road. We see Ben Chalcraft, Martin Kenyon ahead between Jimmy Weimann and Cass Brinkhuizen. I'm going to have to get that pronunciation right. He's a Dutchman. He's not a German. So perhaps the Hausen is more of a German pronunciation. If Mr. Nick is watching, he'll probably be frustrated at my Dutch pronunciation. But when you get thrown a name like that at 7:30 just before you start the stream, there's only so much you can do, really.
Yeah, I mean, the only worst one I had was I had a Greek name that was added to a start list right before the start of a race, and it was something like it was 16 letters, the name. I had no time to practice it before we went on air, so yeah, it can be slightly difficult, but I think Brinkhausen is probably right. Bostock and Sarika Dessler, I think they may be trying to get those cars repaired a bit. Oh no, they're not. That's just the timing tower. They are running their way together. Somewhat lonely, though, through turn 4 towards turn 5, but at least they're still fighting it out with each other. Let's hope it's all nice and, what's the word I'm looking for? Amicable between the two of them, and they're not holding too much of a grudge, but it doesn't seem like they are because it's some good racing at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely is. So here we've got a battle potentially for the lead here. It'll be interesting to see how much pressure Martin Kenyon puts on the elite driver. He will want to take the lead of the race, of course he will, but at what risk? Let's see. He's got to be cautious of the likes of Cass and Jimmy in behind him. Luke Lucchese has taken Sebastian Bonnet as they headed through turn 2. Lucchese on the inside line, up and over the crest at turn 4, and they can set their eyes on William Humphrey, who's still gaining and gaining ever so slightly. I think last time we saw him he was slightly further away off the back of Justin Rame, and now all of a sudden he's right there. That's wide by Chioka. That could allow Rame through. However, Chioka still on the inside line, likely to defend that place. Let's see, this could be opportunistic for Humphrey as these two drivers slow themselves down. He would have really wanted Chioka to make a move there on Justin into the right-hander just to offset his line ever so slightly, but he didn't. He backed out, and that might just allow Justin to put a little bit of breathing room between him and Humphrey. Is he going to go for it here? Yes, he is. Will says, no, thank you. I'm going to get past. If you're not going to defend against Justin, then I'll not waste time getting by you. And that's the Mercedes, past the Mercedes. And now he's got his eyes on Justin once again, ahead of Cass and Kenyon, who's been overtaken by Weimann, actually. So now we do have a genuine battle at the front of the pack for the front of the elite class.
Yeah, which is good to see, and it means that we are going to have some important moments, I think, for a championship, particularly with Justin Rame needing to get up towards the top 3. He is right on the bubble as well. You can see Cass will be defending from Justin Rame, probably down in towards turn number 1. Cass is just the one car behind Martin Kenyon. You can see him from the rear view here, and there he is, the 250 car, looking back at Justin Rame, who is sitting on his rear wing, waiting for any kind of opportunity, and with 17 minutes left, he'd be hard-pressed to say that there won't be an opportunity incoming for Justin Rame. Gets a little bit close, under braking at turn 3, but for the time being, Cass is staying out in front. If you didn't know he was Dutch, the black and orange may tell you that it is, that he is, I should say, and that Mercedes looks pretty good on his first outing in the championship.
It does. I'm a big fan of the matte black. A little bit of silver there. Is that maybe some white there on the top of his frame, and a very nice livery. Absolutely to have a look at. And there was a move just further down the grid, but I think it's gone now. And I don't want to lose Justin, who thinks about it, gets all up in his mirrors. Would have made Cass think about something there. Switches back to the outside line. Is he going to hold it around the outside? Yes, he is. Up and over onto the green stuff. And Kaz defends. Let's see. Something tells me Justin might go for it here. Into turn 10. Is he going to open the steering? No. He's going to stay where he is. Potentially look to get him under braking. Where's Humphries and all this? All over the back. And he's going to be fired up after what happened earlier on at this corner in the last race with Lucchese, Rame and Humphrey. Let's hope they keep it clean. But Will definitely be keen to put a move on his championship rival, I'm sure, in the next couple of laps. He's really gained, as we've seen now. 15 minutes past, 15 to go before we close out here.
Halfway through, and I think these are really crucial moments, because I think Justin will know, even if he doesn't know the point situation, the fact that Williams behind him means that he knows he has to get through on Cass, no doubt about it. He needs to make a move pretty quickly. He can't afford to be sitting behind for too long. So I think we're going to see him look for it wherever he can. Lucchese going fastest of anybody as well at the back of this. Could put the cat amongst the pigeons as we run our way through towards turn 4. As I think Raymer's got through on Cass. And William Humphrey as well, so something's happened to Cass. Maybe he's gone a little bit too wide at turn 1 and 2, but both championship contenders have found their way through, and there they are, third and fourth now, and Cass with a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, and he's having to defend against Chioka in behind, who maybe will think about it down the inside. Very tight line. Lucchese, wow, look at that. Lucchese really thought about it around the outside line. Couldn't get that move stuck. Lots of moves to go back. We will go back and see what happened to Cass from the run through turn 1, 2 and 3. But at the moment then, Justin has been somewhat set free. He's got Martin Kenyon ahead, leading the Premier class, currently third on the road. A bit of a gap opening up between Humphrey and Rame at the moment. Cass still putting pressure. Look at that, the gaggle of Mercedes cars there, 3 in a row. I'm not sure we've seen that all season. Not the most common car on the grid, so it's interesting to see them all next to each other. And within a tenth here, we could have a move and a position for the lead of the race. I do want to go back and see what happened in those overtakes, but only a little bit of contact there. All's well that ends well. I want to go back and see what happened, but let's see if this settles down ever so slightly. Something tells me it's probably not going to settle down, because we've got Justin and William who just about entered the party. Chalcroft's had a great time at the front. Vyman's enjoyed that stint, but now the championship leaders have arrived, and this pack is probably going to stay pretty close for the next 13 and a half minutes.
Yeah, and let's see how... Ooh, excuse me. I swallowed a fly there. But yeah, let's see how close it can be in the last 13 minutes. Took an intake of breath there, and it all went funny. Inside line, though, for Martin Kenyon, as he looks to come back on Jimmy Vyman. This is a bit bold from the Premier leader as they run their way through turns 2 and 3. But I'll tell you, he'll be loving it. It's Justin Rame, because it's putting Jimmy Vyman into positions that he may not want to be. Justin Rame trying to get a good run out of the corner, not able to necessarily get it up towards turn 4, but it could be 3 wide on the exit. Outside is Martin Kenyon. Inside is Justin Rame. In the middle, it's Jimmy Vyman, and they're bumping off each other down in towards the hairpin. Who's going to brake latest? I think it's just about going to be Justin Rame who lets off the brakes a touch. It's going to be Jimmy Vyman to slot in behind, but those two are going to be second and third. Rame doing exactly what he needs to be doing to try and retake that championship lead. Excellent
racing. What a moment that was. Ben Chalcroft will be absolutely loving this. He's managed to fend off that early pressure there that we saw Jimmy Vyman put him under down the pit straight. That move by Martin Kenyon has really upset a lot of these drivers. We'll love to see it. Shades of Shalistra back at Manny Core when he was keen to keep lead of the race. We now see Kenyon in P4, still in the middle of this pack, but look at these four. The 3 Mercedes, there's Humphrey, Chioka, Cass and Lucchese, who are all battling it out for what will be P4 in the elite class. And all the while, Justin Rem sets his eyes in the mirrors on Vyman, who won't be giving up that P2 anytime soon. But it's all of a sudden become another kettle of fish for Chalcroft to have to deal with a man who he knows will have a lot of pace, especially now that he's found himself back up in P2.
Yeah, a driver who's taken... how many wins this season? 6 wins this season. He's taken 10 podiums in races that he's been here. He's looking to make it 11 from 40, and he's looking to make it yet another win. The only problem for Justin Rame Vyman is arriving on the scene right up behind him. Is he going to make a send into turn 1? I wouldn't have thought so, but with all three of these guys being in Porsches, you'd think that the difference in straight line speed is going to be very minimal to nothing, really. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jimmy Vyman can come back at Justin Rehm, because Justin hasn't really been able to scarper away in the last lap in the way that I thought he may have been able to.
This is what happened to Cass earlier on. Oh, he whacked the sausage curb, run off wide. Has he spun the car? No, it's just really upset his line. Rejoined, and on the inside line, is that Chioka thinking about it as well? Yes, he does. Chioka gets involved. Cass still on the inside through turn 4. We're watching on with Justin Rehm. He was the man who made the pass on Cass, but Cass is the car of interest, and that's what upset him down into turn 6. So a simple mistake there, running over the sausage curb, really cost him quite severely. Matthew Noel's had an incident down here. Oh, okay, well, I don't think we need to see that. I think that incident might have already happened.
Yeah, he's gone crabbing there, isn't he? Down the hill, and that probably doesn't feel very nice either, especially when you've got a little bit less load on the car as gravity takes a bit of effect as you dive down some of these undulations here at Portimao. Justin Rehm, though, he really is hanging on for dear life at the moment, isn't he? On the well, in front of Jimmy Vyman. For Cass, I think whilst we were in that replay, Luke Lucchese made that move because Cass was in P5, now down to P6. Regardless, though, very good showing in his opening round in the championship, and good to see how he's been able to adapt. This is Lucchese making that move on Cass, waited for it, got to the inside at turn 5, got the car out of the corner smartly, got the power down, and took over P5. Maybe it was a little bit more difficult than that, though, because Cass is still there side line, but in towards 6 and 7. This would be a very, very good move if Lucchese can walk it around the outside at turn number 8. He can, you know. Let's see how much grip he has around the outside.
Wow.
What a move that is.
Yeah, got the traction down. Absolutely lovely by the South African driver in the Porsche. Maybe that's the characteristics of those cars. He made it work into the hairpin, made it work through that uphill right-hander, and now that's Lucchese in P5 in class, P6 on the road, and that's contact. A little bit of a check-up there by Cass. Forces Chioka, not too much damage, but forces Chioka a little bit wide, and that's kind of offset him. Lucchese, he looks like he's got damage. That car not quite crabbing, but he had a moment there, Lucchese. I think he's going slowly. Jake Corley has now come out of nowhere. We haven't really seen him all night. All of a sudden, he is now back in with a chance at a P5 finish in class. Cass gets ahead. Lucchese must have some damage there. It looked as though he was a little bit wobbled. And Justin Rehm here, a three-car battle for the lead of the race. Martin Kenyon now down in P5. We've got Chalcraft, Rehm, Vyman and Humphrey, who are all within a couple of seconds of one another, battling for the lead of the race. Only 8.5 minutes to go. We focused a lot on the elite standings. A couple of things I want to highlight before we finish. Notably, an incident for Francois Brandet yet again, who's in the pit lane. And so another disastrous race for him, a disastrous night for him, really. Yes, it'll be his drop round, but confidence has taken a hit. But let's not forget this battle at the front of the field.
Yeah, Chalcraft trying his best to hang on for what could be his second win of the season. After his win back at Manicourt, really seems to like this format of races. Of course, the 230 minutes is where he picked up that win back at Manicourt. His drop round consists of 46 points, and he's not going to be thinking about that because he's trying to pick up a full complement of 50 from this 30 minutes alone. Rehm, though, looking to pick up yet another win for his championship aspirations, and he's going to have the inside line. Chalcraft almost allowing him to try and pop his nose up the inside. Is he going to be able to make it work, though? That's the question. Yes, he is. Here comes Jimmy Vyman as well, steaming into the battle. He'll be on the inside as well if Ben Chalcraft has to make the way through turn 2 and into turn 3. Ben Chalcraft has lost 1, he's lost 2. Here comes William Humphrey to make it 3. Exit towards turn 4 is going to be crucial, but Chalcraft back up the inside of Jimmy Vyman. This is a great little tussle for the top 4.
Yeah, no, long let this continue, should I say. At least it wasn't that bad for Ben. Okay, it is that bad for Ben. He's lost 3 places, down from 1st into 4th. Can he get the switch back? A little bit too much of the sausage curb there. Very, very unfortunate for Mr. Chalcraft, who cannot hang on. He's gone from 1st to 4th in a matter of 6 corners, and that's Justin Rehm leads ahead of Vyman and then William Humphrey. This battle not over. Vyman's had the pace all night. Oh, there's a spin. It's Vyman. I thought it was Rehm. Not to say that nothing bad against Jimmy, but it's not Justin. Jimmy out of the order, falling down the order. Hoyland passes him now. That's down into P10 for the G League driver. Let's see what happened there. Can I catch that? Yes, we can. Let's see. I think he just lost it. I don't think he got contact. No, he wouldn't have got any contact. I think he might have just maybe taken too much of the inside curve. Let's see. No, just too much oversteer there. He's taken too much speed through the corner. Lost it of his own accord. That's unfortunate for Jimmy. But he has dropped down now into P10. Allowed Chalcraft back onto the podium. And William a little bit far behind Justin now. 6 minutes to go. Something tells me that whole battle might have just come to an end.
Yeah, but for William Humphrey, this is... It's disappointing because, yes, he's back up to P2, but he's just not going to be picking up these points at all. He'll get 63 overall if it was finished like this for the evening, but his full round, or his full back round at the moment is 83, so nothing close to that. Here's Lucchese with the top 4. Casper Enkhausen got back ahead of him to now be into P4 with the incident that we saw. One thing I was going to note about that incident that we saw with Jimmy Weimann is, of course, this is a circuit that kills the tyres. After 25 minutes, all the tyres may be feeling it a little bit as Weimann's... I mean, if Weimann was real, his spine would be feeling it. Spin in the background as well. That's going to be Josh Ostick from the Premier class. A driver who's been so consistent and just going to have to get out of the way. Perez, Pickle, Aston... Stephen Donnelly will surely come through. Gutting for Josh Ostick, but it goes back to my point. A driver's starting to struggle on the tyres a touch.
Yeah, and we saw there who was a Chioka slashing it over the sausage curb into the side of Chaz Draycott ever so slightly, and it's Luke Lucchese who's just got past Cass Brinkhausen into the hairpin, and he's made up that position now in P5 in class. Again, P6 on the road. Martin Kenyon, notably for him, he's 10 seconds ahead of Mike Murphy, and he's really been upkeeping here with the elite drivers. Let's see him just ahead of Lucchese. Lucchese will fancy getting himself ahead of the Premier driver, putting a little bit of a buffer between him and the fellow elite drivers. But Jay Corley, he's come out of nowhere as well. He's got Cass now under pressure. That's right on board with Jay. Is he going to think about sending it here into the left-hander? Yes, he is. Puts himself alongside, hanging it around the outside. It's Brinkhausen, and he's going to have the inside line. Jay looked to come across there, but Cass didn't really give him any opportunity. He was right there in his rear-view mirror. Jay, if he'd come any further to the right, could have been spun round, rightly moved back over to the left to allow the space for the Mercedes. But that's Jay Coley now up into P5 in class. And what a frantic end to the race we've had here. That's Martin Kenyon. Is he going to let Lucchese past here?
Let's see, down towards turn number 1 we go.
Not.
Lucchese, no. It's an interesting conundrum, isn't it, for Kenyon? Because, of course, he doesn't want to be... fighting these guys too hard to maybe have some kind of incident, but at the same time you do get that little bit of a boost from beating drivers in the class above. His Chaz Draycott fighting with Jimmy Weimann down towards turn 1. The G League driver of Weimann will get through back into P10. Chaz struggling a touch so far this evening, and he may find himself just outside the top 10 once again. Ryan Ottens is arriving on the scene as well, as there's Pickle. It just doesn't end, does it, the battles?
No, they're going up and down, and sadly not much giving for the Evo guys at the moment. As we see on the timing tower, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 8 seconds, best part of 6 seconds separating the top 4-5 drivers. So those guys are going to be set in positions, it seems, until the end of the race, but still quite a few good battles up and down the grid, but nothing will beat this. Lucchese, Kenyon, Corley and Cass as they head up and over the crest. Hell, even Chioka is involved in this battle. Lucchese has got past the Premier driver. Let's see how these guys handle it. Looking awfully squirrely there from Cass in the Mercedes as the weight just came back onto the tyres, and he's kept it in a straight line, dropped down a few positions, but I'm sure we're going to see a couple more tussles in these final few laps here, what will be final 2 or 3 laps, as the leaders head around the final corner across the line. Justin Rem leading at the front still, ahead of William Humphrey, 1.2 seconds the difference, and then they're kind of leaving these guys behind. Ben Chalcraft 2 seconds again behind Humphrey, and then it's 3.6 to Lucchese. So the battle is well and truly on for P4 in the elite class in what will be the final 2 laps of this feature.
Yeah, and of course we're running a little bit later, aren't we, than we were in race 1. Justin Rain will cross the line, I think, with about 15-20 seconds left on the clock than we saw in race 1 for the white flag, but it makes no difference. We're going to get exactly the same number of racing laps and exactly the same amount of opportunities for the likes of Chioka, Casper Enkhausen and Sebastian Bonnet to get themselves back inside that top 4. Jay Coulay wouldn't mind a good run at the end of this race with another top 5. He's been very consistent this season. In his only top 5 came at Hockenheim, which was a podium, so 5th place would be a great result for him in the Aston Martin, particularly considering that the only other driver in the Aston Martin, Thomas Saborin, is out, and it's not necessarily been a car of choice for many people this season. You can see with the tower.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We've got Rob Mackay in the chat joking that his finer tyre clearly hasn't done anything to stop him from failing to finish the race. He's once again down and out in the pit lane. Sadly, it's been a little bit of a theme for Mr. Mackay this season. Can't seem to reach the checkered flag more often than not. We've had that joke about me trying to get him on the driver cams, and every time I did that, particularly in rounds 4 and 5, it seemed like he was out the order. Sadly, he's out the order once again. At least we got to see the shirt and tie once or twice tonight.
Kool, I think something's happened to Jay Kool. He may have gone around somewhere and he's dropped down the order. Let's see what happened to him in the 289 car. Did he try and make a move here on our Premier leader? Oh, not even, I don't think. I think he just took a differing line. Again, it goes back to the point I was making earlier about how many different lines you can have at that corner and how they just end up merging into one. It didn't even look like much of a send. He just happened to find himself on the inside there. There was contact in the end, and Martin Kenyon has been the driver that's not come off too badly. Ryan's Kool won't be too pleased, but at least he should still be able to finish this race as we hit the white flag. Yeah,
I think not much Martin could really have done about that. He took an extra wide line as he headed into turn 11. Oh, and there's Cass making his way past Chioka. Yeah, Martin took an extra wide line. It looked as though maybe Jay carried a little bit too much speed up and over the crest. I think he would probably admit himself that maybe he was a little bit late on the brakes. Ended up drifting into the side of the Premier driver. A flash of the headlights by Chioka there. Not pleased by that move ahead by Sebastian Bonnet, who joins the party. He takes P6 in the elite class. Yeah, unfortunate one for Jay, but I don't think Martin could have really done too much more to stay out of the way of that one. It was hardly a send on the tightest line at that corner. It was just a little bit of a wobble on the brakes, and unfortunately that's Jay Corley round and down in P12.
Yeah, let's see how he can. I mean, he can't recover from this, can he? I mean, we're on the final lap, we're into the final sector, but how he can bounce back in the next couple of weeks from clearly what will end up being a disappointing result for him. Same can be said for Francois Brandet. Realistically, same can be said for William Humphrey, because of course he won't get the full complement of points. But even so, I think Justin Rame getting the win is going to be more gutting for him than anything else. But you can't take it away from Justin, can you? He's driven fantastically, Joe.
Yeah, you can't take it away from either of these drivers, to be fair. Both come back from some big setbacks, and particularly Will, who had that incident early in the first race, to come back, finish second on track outside the reverse grid as well, I believe. And so it's been a good recovery from Will. But the credits go to both of these drivers, but it's Justin Rame who finishes on the top step of the podium in the elite class, ahead of William Humphrey, who, just for the good effect, takes the fastest lap of the race on the final lap, a 1:49.390. Ben Chalcraft, what a performance he had. Ran in the lead for a while, lost it a little bit through this corner, all the way through to the exit of the hairpin, but all in all, I'm sure he'll be more than satisfied bringing home another podium for him. Just his second of the season, outside of that one win that he got in the feature around Manicourt. Martin Kenyon, great drive from him, fighting amongst the big boys there in the elite class. Kept his own, did what he could to defend, allowed some of them through at certain times. He converts what is another good race win in the Premier class. Mike Murphy, didn't really touch on him too much, finished 7 seconds ahead of Rob Pickle, so another consistent result for the man currently leading the Premier standings. And then Rob Pickle has already left the server, can't flash him. He finished in third, ahead of Robin Noel Brown, John Ludbrook and Gareth Newton. Good result for Gareth in the Evo standings in what is only his second podium of the season, having got a P3 in Laguna Seca in the opening round.
Yeah, and it's good to see it being shared around a little bit as we get towards the closing stages of the season, and good to see that we've got a number of winners in all of the classes, and the fact that as much as we like seeing Mike Murphy do well, we've got Martin Kenyon on the top step, for, as you said, for the first time, which is good to see, especially after him getting so close so many times so far.
Totally right. That's what, his 7th podium now of the season, and a top step. I didn't notice that. Good and well done to you, Martin. So we have the results coming in now ahead of the feature. So let's take a look for the final time this evening. Justin Rem crosses the line first, the 297 Canadian driver. He wins just half a second ahead of his championship rival, William Humphrey, for Dennett Racing. Good recovery for both drivers, and an even better recovery for Mr. Humphrey, who fought back after a couple of incidents in that opening round. Ben Chalcraft, a good result for him. The 208 British driver for Spontex CDM Esports gets his second podium of the season. Luke Lucchese for RDSA Esports, that win still eluding him, but strong points in P4 ahead of the debutant Kras Brinkhausen, the Dutchman in the elite class, rounding off the top 5. Sebastian Bonnet finished ahead of Jeremy Chioka, who was definitely involved in that, was Chioka toward the end, made that one mistake of his own accord. He found himself finishing down in P7. Matt Hoyland and Jimmy Vyman, the man who I was thinking there, making that mistake, the top 9, ahead of Chaz Draycott, the top 10. Ryan Ottens came from the back of the grid at the start of the session, having served that qualifying ban, so I'm sure he'll be satisfied to get some points on the board. Ahead of Jay Corley in P12, the last of the elite finishers. Thomas Saborin unable to finish the race, and again a night to forget for Yannis Olbert. Turned up to race, didn't qualify, and I don't think he set a lap all night.
Not good day for him, but he's not been in the championship, so I don't think he'll be too fast. We'll see if he turns up again. Over in the Premier standings, it's not quite a win for Mike Murphy. He still picks up P2, but it is behind Martin Kenyon with his first win of the season in that number 100 car. He's still P3 in the standings. I mean, incredible consistency for someone, and he may even be P2 actually after this, for someone who hasn't quite been able to get to the top step. P3 in the end went to Rob Pickle in a good result for him, only his second podium of the season after his after the opening round at Suzuka. It was Pierre Berezg in 4th and Robin Aston in 5th. Good results for those guys as well. Good to see a few more drivers getting in on the act. Sadly for Josh Ostick, his podium run has ended in spectacular fashion this evening. P6, I say spectacular, it's still P6, still good points for him in his Aura Motorsports machine. Stephen Donnelly, the Irishman, finishes in 7th ahead of Matt Stace and Dennis Curler, the only other drivers inside the top 9 within a minute of our leader. Hussein Sarakadesla, James Bostock and Maxim Dimitrov all had their moments during the race. They all finished in the top 12, but sadly for Rob Mackay and Rob Smith, neither of them finishing, neither of them getting points at all tonight.
And Mr. Robin Noel Brown leads the way in the Evo results tonight. Another very strong race for him, and he does actually keep up that podium run. That's now 5 on the bounce. So great haul as we enter the second half of the season. Fingers crossed the BMW driver can get himself into the top 10. I'm sure he has after that result. Can he get into the top 5? Let's see. With form like that, with still 3 rounds to go, 3 weeks to go, he definitely could. John Ludbrook ahead of Gareth Newton. A great drive for the Camé GP2 team, who get 2 drivers on the podium, and that will certainly help Ludbrook's points haul right toward the top to cement that finish inside the top 2, maybe the top 3. Andrew Fellows, a good result for him, ahead of James Hayworth in P5 for DXT Cyan. Charlie Stothard, who's been here and there throughout the season, he gets what is probably one of his strongest results of the season for Dennett Racing. That's the number 6 machine. Danny Weir in P7, the last to finish on the lead lap, ahead of Matthew Noel, the Canadian driver, who drops off ever so slightly after some good podiums last week around Hockenheim. Can't double that up again this week. Francois Brandet again not finishing the race, so definitely his drop round this week. No doubt about that. Can dust himself down, get ready for the rounds around the Red Bull Ring next week, which again, you may remember me saying, Dara, that was the only track on the calendar that we have in GT3 that the drivers will have already attended. So for the guys who've done it, could get a little bit of a benefit having already done some racing action, albeit it was a wet race, so I'm not sure if that will really be too transferable. Steve Rubino down 14 laps of flat cap racing, a night to forget for the American, and that is the top 10 in the Evo, all rounded up.
Good to see. Loads of guys getting involved. I think Charlie Stossard in the Evo, it's good to see him getting back into the series. Of course, he was here at Road Atlanta in the Hungaroring, but he's missed the last 3 rounds, so it's good to see him back. And good to see another few drivers getting really to form. I wanted to mention Danny Weir, actually, because we don't talk about him too much, because he's generally running towards the back in the Evo class. But he is consistent. I believe now he'll have got 13 top 10s in the opening 16 races. No top 5s in that, all between 6th and 10th. So incredible consistency throughout the season. But I do believe, Joe, we can start to interview a couple of drivers.
Absolutely, mate. I'm good to go. So over to you.
Brilliant. Right, we will get in our new championship leader in the elite standings. That is Justin Rame. Justin, welcome into the booth. You are the championship leader now after tonight's races. You should have a 12-point lead, but a second place in the win. You must be delighted with how it's gone tonight.
Yeah, it was a little bit of luck and very stressful, that's for sure. But it was entertaining. It was a good race.
Yeah, Justin, welcome along. It's the first time we've spoke, I believe, so good to hear from you. We hear from William quite a lot, so it's good to hear from the other side of the camp battling ahead in the championship. A little bit of an unlucky moment for you both in the opening round. You both got spun down at turn 11, then you both had to make a recovery drive, just a case of staying focused, staying on the car ahead and making up the time.
Yeah, we just all I heard was 3 wide, and then I heard a clunk from the back. Yeah, it looks like Luke just kind of outbraked himself and got caught out for us being slower coming in the corner. But I got off a little more lucky than William, and yeah, it wasn't too much damage on my part on the car, so it was just trying to stay focused and avoid the off tracks.
And talk us through that second race. We were riding on board with that pack. There was a good 5 or 6 cars while Chalcraft was ahead, maybe a second or 2 clear. You had the likes of Lucchese and Kaz in there, yourself and William. Talk us through that. Stressful, I'm sure, when you've got a championship to fight for. In the end, though, you're the man who came out on top.
Yeah, it is very stressful, that's for sure. The McLarens are super, super, super fast out of the corners. They're almost like a rocket ship at some of those slow corners. It's a difficult track to overtake, so you almost have to either try to really send it in or force the other person into a mistake. Yeah, it's a very technical track. I'm surprised there wasn't more incidents than there were, but yeah, it was good. It was a good race, and I enjoyed race 2, that's for sure.
Yeah, and absolutely. So you've been hauling in the wins, hauling in the points. How do you feel with the final 3 rounds? You've got the Red Bull Ring, Sebring, and Zolder. Tracks that you're familiar with, or will it be a bit of a challenge for you to get up to speed and see how you can go against William in the final 3 rounds?
Zolder will be the tough one, just because it doesn't get used very much, and I haven't driven that track in a very long time. Red Bull Ring will be tough in the Cayman, mainly just because of the altitude and it being naturally aspirated. It'll be a little bit down on power. Sebring will be fun. I usually do pretty good at Sebring, and I enjoy that track, so that should be a good race.
Awesome stuff, mate. Well, I mean, congratulations so far. Still a few rounds and a few races left to go. Wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just my team, Grid and Go. They've been helping me out here, so it's nice to have their support.
Awesome stuff, Justin. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. Hopefully, we'll catch you before the end of the season once again, but good to speak to you on this occasion. And yeah, good luck in the final 3 weeks. Hopefully, we'll speak to you at some point next week.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Awesome, man, Justin. Thank you, mate.
Justin Rame there, our championship leader in the elite standings. I have to say that Justin is part of another league that I've done commentary on before, and they hold a lot of standings and lots of records. And I do know that Justin holds a GT4 lap record at least the Red Bull Ring still. So he's definitely going to be a quick one to watch out for. I think it's going to be key to see how he does there. We're going to quickly grab a word with Andrew Fellows as he is waiting for an interview, as he always does. Andrew, welcome in. Of course, one of our great Evo drivers. Consistency from you tonight, 5th and a 4th. You're still going to be 3rd in that standings. How are you trying to get after John Ludbrook in your battle for P2?
Well, I was hoping I'd be able to beat him tonight, to be fair. But he was rapid again tonight, to be fair. There was Robin, Gareth, and John in that last race. I couldn't catch them. They're all in the 50s. My best was a very low 51. So, yeah, they're putting the work. Fair play to them. It's going to be difficult. I was 11 points. It's now going to increase because I think he beat me in both races. So we'll just have to wait and see what I can do. Yeah, it's just trying my best, try and keep these consistent results up. I mean, a 5th and a 4th isn't too bad, so keep it up.
Yeah, I was thinking that, mate. Looking at your results, obviously the hat-trick of podiums last week, and then a 5th and a 4th. Definitely something that bodes well with only 3 rounds to go. But as I'm sure you're aware, the fight is still on for P2, but equally the fight for the top 5 is still very close between Noel, Nevea and yourself. So how do you board the next 3 rounds? We've got Red Bull, Sebring and Zolder. So some tricky tracks, but I'd like to think Portimao probably one of the trickiest ones to survive. Let's say quite a few drivers getting caught up in incidents today. And Francois, Francois didn't have the best week once again, similar to last. So, you're always there or thereabouts. And so how did you find it overall?
Yeah, I mean, today was okay. First race, I got caught up in someone else's incident and had damage, which put me on the back foot. I lost my front bumper again. But fortunately, I didn't have to pit for repairs. So I got, I think it was that 5th in the first race. Second race, not too bad. Managed to just plug along, but they were just too quick for me. I couldn't do anything. As for the next 3 races, it's going to be tricky. Red Bull Ring's all right. That one's going to be interesting. We've got Sebring, as you said. That can serve up some very good racing, but it can also cause a lot of incidents, from what I can remember. Not driven a GT4 end, any of those. So it'd be interesting. But yeah, as you say, Francois, with his drop round, he's still going to score 95 points tonight, even with 2 DNFs. But yeah, the fight's on. Let's just see how close we can keep it. I can't see Francois not winning it, but the fight for P2 is well and truly on quite a few of us, which is really good.
Absolutely, we're definitely looking forward to that one. One last question, Andrew, slightly off topic. Just want to plug our session tomorrow. I'm wondering, have you had much chance to prepare at all for that? And are you looking forward to a very different style of racing, if you'll be attending, of course?
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow for the Super Formula Lights. It's going to be interesting. I've done a little bit of like F4 and stuff. I've never raced the Super Light because I literally bought it last week when the championship was announced. So I've done a couple of laps around Silverstone. I'm in the 151s, I think it is, like just about. So we shall see. It's just interesting to see how we get on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to be fair. Like you say, different type of racing. The slipstream seems to be very good in those cars, I think, as well, from what I've seen on different streams.
Very good, mate. Well, I will, of course, be live tomorrow once again, covering that broadcast, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. Well, good stuff, Andrew. I mean, good luck in the next few rounds. Let's see where we end up, but as always, thanks for joining us, and I may speak to you tomorrow, but if not, I'll catch you next week.
No problem. Thank you very much, guys.
Good stuff, mate. See you.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Great to be able to speak to Andrew again. Great. It's always nice to get an update every single week from Andrew. We're gonna speak to. Sorry, what were you gonna say there?
No. I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, fair enough. We will bring in Matt Hoyland then into the box. I don't know if we've spoken to Matt much this season, but we'll bring him in now. Matt, welcome into the box. A decent result for you today. I mean, you've not had the best of seasons. I think you'll probably openly admit that yourself. This is your 4th top 10 you got in the second race tonight. You were involved in a lot of those midfield crazy packs. I mean, how difficult was it to pick your way through some of those?
It was a really tricky track to try and make a move. You had to really you had to commit, but the trouble is, if you committed and the car you were trying to pass decided they didn't want you to, there was pretty much nothing you could do about it at that point. So it did require some cooperation from whoever you were passing. But yeah, I had some really good battles. I think I maybe had one bit of contact, which I felt really bad the whole way through race 1 because I thought maybe I'd cause Rob Smith to spin. But thankfully for me, he confirmed he had a brake pedal issue, but unfortunate for him. But yeah, good fun overall.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, another back of the grid start for you tonight. How did that feel, charging down to turn 1? I feel like it's probably one of the most inviting braking zones. It's very wide on the entry, and then all of a sudden it turns into nothing. I wonder, did you see much going on ahead? Did you capitalise turn 1 on either of those races and manage to get ahead, or were you just playing it calm, playing it safe, and just trying to go as the race went on?
Race 1, I gained pretty much nothing because I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, you see everyone piling in like 3 and 4 wide because it's so wide, but the amount of sort of checking up that you got on the apex and after it, like if you'd have gone in there full blast, there's no way you're going to stop. So I think you were almost obliged to show a bit of caution, otherwise you were destined to rear end someone. But race 2, I managed to make up a couple of places on first lap, I think, but overall it was easier to make passes the more spread out it got, because when you've got 2 cars in front of you that are already fighting, there really isn't an opportunity to make it 3 wide anywhere. So you had to sort of wait for them to figure it out and then try and pick on the weak one and take advantage of that. But yeah, just tricky.
Yeah, well, definitely one of the more tricky circuits that we have left on the calendar. Excuse me. And looking forward to next week around the Red Bull Ring. I was saying how we did that in GT3s, albeit half in the wet. I wonder if there's going to be much transferable from that race, or if it's mostly going to be pretty fresh in the GT4s.
I think it'll be totally different, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just the difference in downforce that you notice the most. They're quite nimble, these cars, but they just, when you get to that high speed stuff, they just don't have the bite that the GT3s have. So I think they are going to be completely different. I can't say it's one of my favourite tracks in the world, but you never know. Something may happen. Having said that, I think they'll provide good fighting. Obviously, a bit more straight than we've had at most of the tracks. Well, aside from Hockenheim last week, so hopefully it will provide the opportunity for quite a lot more door-to-door racing in a safer manner than we've had to commit to moves around here. So we'll see.
Very good, mate. Very good. Well, we look forward to that one for sure. Thanks for joining us as always. And before we go, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just DXT as usual. Congrats to those who got good results. Commiserations to those that didn't. Yeah, that's about it, really.
And a small comment. I don't know if you've seen Rob Mackay in his blue tie, which was a very good sight to see. Sim racer there, looking pretty dapper.
Yeah, he claims that it just came straight from a funeral. Personally, I don't believe him. I think he just likes to get dressed up occasionally for the occasion. But unfortunately, he didn't drive to the standard that he was dressed.
Oh.
So he's failed on that one. Hopefully, when he gets back into his normal clothes next week, he'll be back on form.
Yeah, let's see. Good stuff, Matt, mate. Cheers for joining us, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
We hear from Matt then. After another decent result from him, it's always nice to get lots of drivers who are a little bit further back in the pack, isn't it? When sometimes you get some big moments up near the front. Next, though, we're going to drag in our first Spontex driver. That'll be Ben Chalcraft, who had another good result on a podium tonight again from Ben. So Ben, welcome in. As I just said, second podium of the season. Obviously, your first since Manny Core. Good result for you overall tonight. And you're still kicking yourself up in the top 5 in the championship. I mean, this is season going quite well for you, isn't it?
Clinging on to that 5th position as long as I can. Yeah, last 2 rounds didn't go too well. I think, what were they? Laguna Seca, I messed up qualifying and did my best to, pull myself forward. And then last week was actually going pretty well. I think I was on for 2 top 5s and made a bit of a mess of it, and I will apologise again for taking out Jeremy by spinning in front of him. So yeah, it's good to have a more consistent round again. Qualifying wasn't fantastic today. I was kind of gaining pace as the 2 races went on. Had some good battles in the first and just snatched that crucial 10th position on the last lap in the first race, and then just ran away for as long as I could in the second race and hoped the really quick guys like Justin and William and Luke and Jimmy didn't catch me too soon. And yeah, a podium. It was a splendid result. Happy with that. Very happy.
Yeah, Ben, talk us through that second race, because you were obviously, I don't think you were leading the whole time. You got past, obviously Martin was right up there, the Premier driver. You had a stint in the lead, so talk us through the opening stint, the opening phase. Let's see how you felt about that. And then also, sadly, that, well, from turn 1 through turn 4, when it all kind of came undone for you, you went from 1st to 4th as the likes of Humphrey, I think it was Chioka and Vyman, not Chioka, sorry, Vyman, Lucchese, the works, the whole pack It was very
Yeah.
crazy behind you, Ben. It was very, very crazy. There was like 6 guys all going at it. Meanwhile, you were trying to stay in the lead, but sadly in the end, still a good result. But there was that moment where it just looked like it was going to go wrong for you.
Yeah, so I think the first 2/3 of the race, it was quite a long while. I was out there. Martin was keeping me very honest, and then he started fighting with Jimmy, who was the first to kind of come through from the leaders of the first race. And just did my best to hold Jimmy off. And then he went back, and then they had a bit of a scrap behind. So I was spending a lot of time watching my mirrors and just trying to keep the lap times as low as possible, and just kind of delay the inevitable, I think. But then when Justin came through, I was saying to Chaz on comms, how has he gone through with that first section like half a second quicker than me? I just don't understand how he can carry that much speed. It was those, like I said, those top 5 or 6 guys who were surrounding me there were just so quick. And I offered a little bit of defence and tried to break the toe, but Justin was just too quick. And when he got down the inside, just like vultures, they was like swept in, and there was just one after the other on the inside. So I was kind of hung out there and thought, well, at that point, we'll hang on as best as we can. 4th's not bad, and we'll just see if we can cling on to this pack. Something might happen, and something did happen. So I was happy to pick up the pieces and grab that trophy.
Yeah, good stuff. So 3 rounds to go, battling away with the likes of Vyman. Ottens, who started toward the back, didn't have the best result in the end. And then Jay Corley, who's down there in P7, kind of drifting away from the top 6. I would imagine you're still confident in holding on to that top 5. 3 rounds to go. Any favourite tracks coming up? Red Bull Ring, Sebring, Zolder. Much experience around those? How do you feel going into the final stage of the season?
Yeah, Red Bull Ring I've probably got the most experience on. I've done a race in a GT4, not the Porsche, but I've done it in a GT4 before, so I kind of know my way around there. Sebring's a bit of a weak one for me. I've not raced there much, and Zolder I've raced once, so yeah. I think Red Bull Ring I hope, will be my strongest performance, and then we'll just grab as much as we can from the final 2. And like I say, I think on raw pace alone, like I say, Justin, William, Luke, Jimmy, it's hard to fight them off. Ryan obviously was out of position today as well. There's a whole bunch of guys, so just keep fighting, take as many points as we can, and see if we can cling on.
Yeah, mate, you're telling me there's a lot of guys in the elite class who've got a lot of quality, a lot of pace, and yeah, it's good to see. Good to see you all fighting at the front, and I think the reverse grid really does aid the racing. So
some good guys in those lower classes as well, with Mike and Sebastian, and
exactly.
Martin's been was really quick today as well.
Yeah, he really held his own toward the front for quite some time. Finished in P5 on the road overall in the end. So, yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us again, Ben. And as always, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Standard fare, you guys, of course, for the broadcast, all of the organisers, Chaz and Ed and the Spontex team, and my old teammates from Minardi Sim Sport as well.
Very good stuff, mate. Very good stuff. Well, hopefully we speak once more, at least before the end of the season. Good luck next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you get the result that you might be hoping for. Then that might give you a little bit of a launch pad for the final 2 rounds. But yeah, we look forward to that one for sure.
Thanks very much, guys. See you.
Speak to Ben Chalcroft then. After another good result from him and Joe, we've only got one more driver left to interview, and it is going to be Mr. Chaz Draycott, who I've dragged in now. Mr. Draycott, welcome in. Of course, we're leaving the best till last, aren't we? After another good another good display from you. Well, I don't know how you describe it tonight, but difficult in the mid packs. There, we were speaking to a few of the drivers. They've said how much there was the battling going on, how difficult it was to overtake side-by-side action was difficult, especially at the likes of turn 10. How did you find it? Are you pleased with how it went? Are you looking to try and build on something more at Red Bull Ring next week?
The difference is I like the Red Bull Ring. I've never actually driven Portimao before tonight, and my first laps were in the official session tonight. So it was difficult. I underestimated this track, and that's not something you should do at Portimao. It's a great circuit. When you get used to it and you get in a rhythm around here, it's amazing. Really, really cool track to drive, and loads of fun, loads of undulation. There's a few bits that sort of look similar from a driver's perspective, so you always have to question what corner you're coming up to next. But no, it was good in the end. I mean, I qualified like 23rd or something. I wasn't very happy with that. But then a 20th and an 11th wasn't so bad in the end, I guess. But Ben, as I'm sure you just heard from him, he had a great night tonight. Really good stuff from Ben again. He's been our sort of spearhead of the Spontex CDM Esports attack this season.
Yeah, Chaz, we watched on a lot of battles, as you say, in and around your position. Some guys in the Premier class, maybe even early doors, some guys in the Evo class, all around that midfield. How's that? Around a circuit that's so, one mistake, we saw a couple of guys hitting the sausage curbs, that can unfold and, that can cause chaos in some situations. Was it tricky being in two minds about battling people outside of your class? Or maybe that's just all part of the fun, everyone's equal. Defend everybody like you would anybody else, and especially on a track like this, got to keep it in a straight line.
It's not often that I'll sort of go through a race and as soon as I get up to a car in front, I'll go, right, I need to send it on this person. I like to sort of give them a half a lap, give them even a lap, just assess where I might be quicker than them or where they might be quicker than me, where the sort of advantages and disadvantages lie. This circuit was one that made them sort of disadvantages and advantages very apparent very quickly. There was a lot of great places to be able to cut back on one another as well. I mean, me and Jimmy Ryman had an amazing battle towards the end of the race. I was really scared that one of us was going to take the other out and it'd be an honest mistake, but we had a really good scrap. And there was a few others in the middle of the field as well that I had a great fight with, and I didn't expect to come into this tonight and have a fight with anybody. I just thought I'd be at the back and languish down there. But yeah, it was great. Really, really great. But it's an unforgiving circuit, that's for sure. I think I got caught out by one of the... I didn't quite think it was a sausage curb, but there was a right-hander at one point where I just got on the throttle way too early and it went around. But it's easy to do around a track like this, so yeah, I definitely won't be underestimating any other circuits on the calendar, that's for sure.
Yeah, we see you creeping now into the top 12. When we say the second of the charging hedgehogs coming onto the timing sheet. So 3 weeks to go. You're looking forward to those? Red Bull Ring, Sebring, Zolder. Anything stand out there for you?
Sebring stands out for all the wrong reasons. I don't look forward to that. I don't look forward to that at all. I really don't get on well with that circuit. I like Red Bull Ring, but I don't think I'm going to be very quick there. And Zolder, I think, is going to be about survival. That's going to be a really dramatic season end as well, which should be good. Well, I can't believe there's only 3 weeks left. It's gone really quick, this. It feels like we've only done like 3 rounds, but yeah, I've enjoyed being back in a championship like this and putting the time and effort in for it. It's been good.
Yes, absolutely right, mate. Absolutely. So we'll have to make the most of the next 3 weeks, and I'm sure soon we'll have more information about what's going to follow on Monday nights next season. So, as always, Chaz, thanks for joining us. And before we let you go, is there anybody who you'd like to give a shout out to?
Humphrey, the hedgehog, who might be on camera, I don't know.
Unfortunately.
Charlotte, the missus, for watching, as always. Spontex, Abruzzi, Simply Race, GT Planet, Sneak, Ben and Ed. Ed isn't very well tonight, bless him, so he wasn't able to race. And you guys and all the organisers, everyone involved in making this what it is. It's great.
Very good to hear. Thank you so much, Chaz. And I'm sure we'll speak to you once again before the end of the season. Good luck and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks very much, boys. Have a good one.
Straight cut then. Of course, one of our drivers in the elite standings, P12 overall, who'll be looking to improve on that in the final few rounds. But there's no one else waiting for an interview, Joe. I think we can start wrapping it up here.
I think you might be right about that one, mate. So, a very, very good circuit for some very good racing, and we definitely made the most of that this week. So, to close out then, sadly, next week I'll be unavailable, and so the broadcast for round 8 around the Red Bull Ring will be done as live from the replay file. That is scheduled to take place on Sunday the 24th. We'll post information on that in the server when we have a better idea. Sadly, I'm away with work for the week, and so when I come back, I need to find the best time to make that happen. Then we'll be back the following day, same time as always, on Monday nights at 8 PM to kick off the penultimate round of the season. But again, as I say, wait out for information on when we'll be going live, and it will be great if we can get some of the drivers in there. It may be midday on the Sunday, in fairness, so it might not be the best time for too many people. But nonetheless, we'll post that information in due course when we have a better idea about what time that will be. But no live broadcast from me next Monday until the following week. Other information. Tomorrow, as you heard me say to Mr. Fellows, we have the first round of our free-to-enter mini-series in the Super Formula Light, which is a little bit of a test the waters kind of thing, test the gauge, test the interest, before potentially launching a full championship, a full season proper in line with next season's GT4 and GT3 Season 7. So keep your eyes on that in the server for any information that releases. Looking forward to doing that. I may be alone in the comms box, but I may be joined by a special guest who dropped me a message yesterday. So let's see if he is able to join me. If not, it will just be me, like old times, covering what will be, I'm sure, a very different but very exciting mini championship. We currently have 43 drivers signed up for that, so there's the best part of 15 seats available. As I say, free to enter, no pressure to attend any round, so anybody who wants to join that can either sign up in the SFL Championship chat in the Discord or scan the QR code on screen and join the server, get involved with the community. We are now at 540 members, so we're definitely growing. The intake that we've had for GT3 Season 7 has been overwhelming. We've already sold 60-something out of the 120 available seats. Can you believe it? In less than 48 hours. So that will be Thursdays, back with the wonderful Chaz and Ed on the Chaz Draycott Media YouTube channel. That'll start at the first week of December, so we can catch those two back in the booth for ESR GT3 on Thursdays. And then again, we'll plan ahead on what we plan to do on Mondays this time next month. 7:30 UK time, as always, similar format tomorrow, so catch us there if you're free. And for now, we will catch you as live on the replay on Sunday, the 24th of November, and then the day after for round 9 on the 25th, before we look ahead at the final round of the season in what has been 10 weeks that have absolutely flown by. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.